Hi, it's Ileana, and today I have David Powell with me, who is a remote viewer. I'm doing a project in CRV, finishing up a course. So my teacher has asked if I can please have David discuss who he is, what kind of remote viewing he does, and then we're going to go over his paper sessions for a very interesting set of targets. It's several targets with a lot of complex data. So David has been working on this project for about 2 weeks now, since I tasked him with it on June 24th, 2024. Welcome, David.
Thanks. Yeah, happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just use CRV on a couple targets I use. I use pretty standard CRV taught by Paul. I took it to stage 6, and then I would go to whiteboard and see if I could lay out the event and then try and pull out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And we started with 3 paper sessions and then we did 5 whiteboard sessions, which I'm still putting together the report for that. And we'll go over those when that's completed. Today we have your amazing paper sessions. So how long have you been doing CRV?
CRV. Oh gosh. I mean, strictly CRV. Oh man, maybe 6 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little more. I'm kind of losing track because I started with the hemi-sync technique and all that, and then I did a little bit of um, like a DVD training, and then eventually went to Paul's training after I got my scholarship.
And Paul, what's his last name? Just for,
Smith.
okay. And he has his own school, I think.
Yeah, he has a school in Utah. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're certified. Because when I was reading your bio, it says that you're certified in CRV and you've been doing it for a while as a professional. And what is CRV, just for those people that might not know what that is, the acronym for that?
That's controlled remote viewing. It's a technique that was developed by a protocol that was developed by Ingo Swann and SRI, and then the military learned it, took it home, tweaked it a bit more, and that's the methodology that I use when I remote view.
And this is what I'm learning from a tasker's perspective, because I've also done remote viewing for about 7 years, and I learned remote viewing from the Farsight Institute. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been doing it for 7 years, so I'm just now doing it from the other end of a tasker, assigning targets to somebody else. It's double blind. I have not told you anything about the targets or what anything is about for information for what we're going to be viewing of your paper sessions. And I'm going to share the paper session document. It's a large PDF that is in 3 sections. So I'm going to share that and we're going to start to go over that. So this is paper session target 1, session 1, results for target M224-H424. And remote viewing targets can be a number of letters, it could be numbers to whatever the signal is that is part of the target information is in the tasking. So I'm just explaining the basics because I just finished the
Sure.
course. So, and that's part of learning how to do that, to assign a task. You have specific things you put it into a tasking document, which you're tapping into the signal of whatever targets and the tasking is. So that's what we're looking at part today. So can you go over the document? And I'll do page by page so we can both see what's in the stuff, and I'm sure you have your own notes on it as
Mm-hmm.
well from the paper sessions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have the paper here with me too in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sure. I'll go over it as I went. So I went in. I was picking up on a structure, picking up on life, and I didn't deconstruct it much further than that because already other impressions are starting to kind of barrel down the pipe. So I went on, and I was getting dusty, smoky, cloudy. like kicked up dust. I'm getting a sense of kind of energy early on. Fizzling orange, glowing, puffy, broad. Um, Going into page 2.
Mm-hmm. And what's
Um,
AOL, just so people understand?
yeah, so AOL Dust Storm was my first AOL. So yeah, you're getting these deductions that you want to kind of side table because it's higher level stuff that you haven't really got into yet. So at this point, it's kind of like a garbage can right now because you're not really jumping into that stuff yet. It's just kind of pre-assumptions. So you kind of arrest them, put them to the side, and keep going until you get to that part of the stage or the process.
But those could be
But early
also
on,
but those could be
yeah,
also important to the target potentially, right?
correct. Oftentimes, sometimes they can be right on. It just you happen to get a little piece early, or it's almost always definitely has some element related to the target, either literally or figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an EI break of like nervous energy. So I felt like somebody at the target might be nervous about something. Um, but again, I'm getting these high energy sensations, burning smells, um, getting several objects here, structures. Like I'm building up into my aesthetic impact, which is kind of how you work it in CRV. So my big aesthetic impact, for my first aesthetic impact of this pass of the session was I feel a sense of an arrangement here, um, some kind of arrangement. So then I go directly into my stage 3 sketching, and I wanting to sketch these energetic, something kind of coming off of this energetic feel of something here. Um, so going into page 3.
Yeah, and you said there was electrical vibrating kind of
Mm-hmm.
there's
Yeah,
pinging
like
and waves. Yeah.
electrical surges and stuff. I was getting stuff like that. I felt like something was also not working properly, possibly. So I don't know if that's related to it or not, um, but yeah, a lot of energy, and so going into my next kind of big sketch, I've AOL charged particles, and I have this rounded structure, and I have this and I'm guessing here that this may be the energetic aspect of it. It's if something is coming out of it or going into it, but some kind of energetic thing happening here. I also did get this rocky environment, but I think that this particular sketch is relating to the energetic properties likely. Um, but like at my AOL, some charged particles, like diverted energy. Um, I have AOL break orbital structure. So some of the stuff is actually early data. I was getting sense of orbit, stuff like that. It always comes back around later on if that's valid data usually. Diverting energy pulses, AOL. So again, surging, an early stage 4.
Mm-hmm. And you date things and you put in the page numbers and you're very meticulous about your paper sessions.
Yeah, for me, like the paper sessions are all data collection and sorting the data. And then when I go to whiteboard, I can kind of try and piece it together in a sensical way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for myself as a viewer, for analysts or for like you or whoever or whoever's looking at target, they already know probably this stuff, how it relates. But here, so the next sketch, I have this rounded object with some kind of interaction between another structure, um, and they had this quite often. It was almost like it was examining something or looking at something or trying to fix something. But I had this rounded object kind of throughout the session here with this interaction kind of between these structures.
Yeah, it looks like some sort of an obelisk because it has a shape of an obelisk.
Yeah,
And
and I had obelisks that came up a couple times. Yeah.
and then the other structure that looks like an octagonal rectangular square kind of a structure in the land, or like to the right of the obelisk, to me, like looks like some kind of other structure there from your drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
Yeah.
like squares stacked on top of each other. Some kind of a structure, could be maybe monitoring facility or something. And we never guess what the structures are. What you get on the sessions is what you get, and then we kind of go over what the material is. And the images, I think, help people understand what the viewer is looking at. So this like has that obelisk, has that orb doing something to the obelisk,
Mm-hmm.
and some kind of a other structural element, which is interesting. Like to me, I could see what that is in the drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Easy for me, it's easy to understand. The drawing, your drawing skills are very good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, kind of like I'm trying to pull back. I'm trying to kind of pan the camera back. I'm trying to get a bigger picture of the landscape, what I'm looking at. So this is me pulling back a little bit farther. And again, this thing, it's as if this thing is looking at something, exploring the area, maybe perhaps, but definitely its attention is on these objects, from my
Mhm.
perspective.
It looks like I think you said concentric, like it is scanning something, it is viewing something. Looks
Mm-hmm.
like there's steps and another kind of a almost like a door or something maybe to the
Mm-hmm.
left, and blocks of something in a structure where this obelisk thing is. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very detailed and detail oriented, which is pretty good.
Yeah. At first I was thinking, I'm like, is this, because I was trying to figure out if, like, is this the primary? So I was like trying to go inside, but from my perspective, it was almost that this orb was kind of investigating or something, was kind of going around looking at bigger things. Um, so yeah, jumping into stage 4 here, page 6. I felt
Mhm.
like I had a pretty good hook in the signal. I mean, I felt like I was getting pulled into higher level data, so I was just kind of going with it. I try and push out stage 3 as much as I can with sketches, but you want to start sorting data if you feel that good stuff's coming in. So
Mhm.
um yeah, I was picking up on my first, because I'm jumping right into intangibles here, which is kind of early, but I had this idea of a magnetic anomaly, um a gravitic, just this idea of gravitic technology came in so much.
Mhm.
um I have in my tangibles an orange glowing orb, um a feeling of assimilation from someone at the target, possibly. Um, I have some AOLs. I'm purging those. So I get mechanical failure. I'm getting something's not operating quite correctly, is my perspective on it. And I'm getting a feeling of like a search, like an active search. Then I AOL'd Artemis mission. So the whole thing is kind of like um, I'm getting orbit. I'm getting it just has a feeling of space related to some way, to some degree.
Maybe space technology or other advanced technology, because
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the Artemis mission is.
That's a trip to the moon landing, where they're going up to the moons, and I mean that was in
Because
my AOL. So something about that kind of is a vague recollection of this or something.
I see
So
here
yeah,
blue, rounded, intrigued. The
yeah, I
words,
was
like
in, yeah,
3 words,
yeah.
interesting.
That's that. Yeah, that was I was building up my dimensions, and I had it. I was intrigued by whatever this is. Assimilation felt like an EI to me, so I'm not sure about that. But that's just what I got. Somebody had that kind of vibe there.
And also recording, something about
hmm
recording on the right
Yeah,
hand side, the word.
yeah, it's almost like they're documenting this, or kind of a feeling.
Mm-hmm. Like something is being produced, something is functioning. And what's the other word before recording? ASS.
Assaulted.
Okay.
Assaulted.
Hmm. Well, the data is showing something very intriguing. So it's It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely parts of different, I think parts of different systems and parts of moving parts that are fitting together somehow. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what
Yeah.
I get from these technologies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That just what it looks like to me from the sketches.
Yeah. Yeah. Now this one's interesting. I don't know if this. So again, we have the smaller rounded object, which to me is either interacting with a much larger object, like almost like it's sitting on top of it, or it could be coming out of a large structure or something. I'm not sure, but to me, I'm looking at that rounded object, this electrical energy, and then possibly a bigger structure, several more structures underneath it. But to me, it feels like maybe perhaps one big structure underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
As you said,
so,
electrical pulses like a
mm-hmm,
charging,
mm-hmm,
staticky,
mm-hmm.
problematic weapon system, you said? An exchange of something?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm getting centrifugal forces. What feels like to me. But again, yeah, it's like this weapon system isn't working properly or something. Is kind of what it feels like. Which I try to like figure out, like, was this thing in a battle or something? Like, but I get way I'd have to go. We'll go into that later. But yeah, but for whatever reason, it felt like something wasn't working right.
Yeah, because
Um,
weapons
go ahead.
kept coming up in dry, also like maybe a dry place where this is,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that, because there's a lot going on here. Diverting electrical energy, you said like diverting electrical
Mm-hmm.
energy. It's again, it looks like a lot of systems, a lot of different tech, and something is connecting. There's like like connecting the puzzle pieces of something huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, Kind of what I'm getting from these images.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had this they came in just like that, a distinguished land feature. So something in the land um uh stands out possibly or something. But again, I have this again, it's almost like he's scanning the environment, this thing. That's kind of the vibe it feels like.
Hmm.
Um and I have electrical energy, I have a signature, like a waveform signature of some kind possibly. Um and so I'm trying to get so I go into a movement exercise where I say move inside the orb, but your subconscious will kind of like it's trying to help me, with my movements. So when I said move inside the orb, it was basically from my perspective like telling me like that's not like the center of what's going on. The orb is just there or whatever. So then I have this octagonal type size structure, and it's as if this thing is moving around inside of it or around it. Um, and again, I get this sense of a raised frequency.
Hmm. And you said signature like filming an old structure, electrical energy, cranial exam.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And shadowy, like maybe looking at this from the perspective of up above, of it doing something below. Because it looks like
Mm-hmm.
it's in the air, the orb is in the air, and it's looking for something
Mm-hmm.
maybe be like on the surface or below ground, maybe.
Yeah, there was times where it was like, I mean, I tried to go into this thing. To me, it was almost like an AI. It reminded me of like something I've done in other projects, but where it's almost like zipping around trying to fix this thing or trying to record this thing. That's kind of the general sense I was getting out
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Yeah, and it looks like surface structures, internal structures, and moving from different parts of something.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and there's something that I felt, and I'm not quite sure what it. Probably the fact that this is maybe not in the open. I don't know, but something about this feels disturbing to me. There's something I don't like about this, like just the overall umbrella of what this is all about. Um, so
There very well
yeah,
could be disturbing.
yeah, yeah. So um, I've got this spiral formation. I had this loud sound. I described it as a deafening sound. Um, I have sine wave technology. I got exopolitics. Maybe this might be signal, but I felt like it has something maybe to do with that. Um, and again, converting energy and our energetic particles. I have a big stage 4.5 here, so I get a sense of a magnetic wave anomaly is associated with this event. Surveillance equipment, waveform energy event.
Looks like something circular and there's waves coming out of it, like an event
Mm-hmm.
horizon, something with probably gravitic tech, maybe. It looks like
Yeah, I
gravitic
mean,
tech.
I had gravitic all over this thing. Like gravitic technology seemed to be a big interest. But again, I had other targets, other tasking
Yeah,
too, so I don't know how they relate. Um,
it looks
but so
like
this
that
is
to me.
interesting.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
very interesting. It,
so I on the next page, page 10, I AOL'd this because it was pretty high level, but again, it was one of these things that just keeps circling back around in my impressions. It was a mothership. So when that keeps coming around, that typically means I put it in the wrong place and it's actually a mothership of some kind. But I could be wrong. But anyway, but I had this, I don't know how it relates to this, but that was my AOL, but it comes in more often later on. Um,
Mhm.
so inorganic material, and I have this sketch again. It's to me, it's like there's some kind of energetic thing happening here off of this rounded structure, a signal, an energy, something, um, and again, I'm getting this high technology signal, like pulling in energy particles. Um, I have servos in my tangibles, but a very strange technology or something, energy, high energy happening here.
Yeah,
Because
because
I have
these,
electrical energy field in my intangibles. I just saw that.
yeah, like energy reflecting off the sun. You also put that in,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is interesting. So it looks like a couple of different devices and they're doing something. And what are servos? Just so.
I think they're. I think they're like technology, like moving. They help movement with an apparatus. I think.
Mhm.
Just like little technical mechanical pieces type of thing.
Yeah, so something could be done with sun energy and sun technology, maybe harnessing energy or
Mm-hmm.
experimenting with different frequencies and again, electrical energy field. I think there's a pattern of continuing electrogravitic technology maybe here,
Mm-hmm.
because this stuff is like moving parts of something.
Yeah. And I did have like sunspots, like sun orbits. I don't know. I don't know how that relates, but it came in. I never really worked that out. I mean, I know I had some big planetary bodies I was out in space, a few sketches, but we'll get
Hmm.
to it. All right. So what page are you on now? You're on
Page
12?
11. 11.
Okay, 11. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, um, show me the environment. I'm trying to get a sense. I'm getting a feel of hovering. Um, multi-level tiered, and again, a diverted energy that feels unstable. I have AOL like damaged property, but I have a proprietary examination.
You also said corrosion, rumbling
Mm-hmm.
sounds, multi-level tiered tall, um, damaged
Mm-hmm.
property, metallic open, like broken satellite disk,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
investigative
a yeah.
with a celestial focus.
That says I do have
Centrifugal.
celestials later on, but centrifugal forces. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think this could be about? Because there's a bunch of things kind of going together here.
Well, to me, it's. I could tell you what the kind of the shell feels like.
Hmm.
It's almost like maybe they're looking at something old that's possibly kicking out a signal or um, it's almost like examining an old UFO or something, kind of a general vibe. That's kind of what it reminded me of. It's as if this little piece of technology is floating around, looking at all this old, interesting stuff, kind of a thing.
Yeah, like centripetal forces.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a lot of movement. Seems like investigative stuff is going on.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I had this too, like this. It's somewhat. It just reminds me. Like I didn't find myself sketching this several times. It's like this big mechanical. It almost reminds me of like a not mechanical, but like a almost like an open frame tower or something. Like a staging area possibly or something. But basically, in this picture, what I'm looking at is it reminds me of. So he's looking this again. This thing's looking down into this thing, but it's almost to me again. This came up several times. It's like he's trying to repair something here. Um, I had an AOL later on of like trying to solve the world's energy problems. But anyway, but from this, it's almost like maybe something's damaged here in this area, and he's investigating that. But again, investigation is a huge part of this. I mean, this thing's like a camera moving around, looking at everything.
Yeah, because it looks like whatever this thing on the ground is, some kind of a platform of something.
Yeah,
And it's on a surface and there's other metallic structures around it. So it's a platform that is staged on something else because it's obviously on something and you're looking at this from land surface and
mm-hmm.
above. So it's very there's structures here.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely looking at something land based here for sure. Um,
Mhm.
and all right, so yeah, again, I've got this. I can't really tell you much about this other than some kind of energy exchange happening here. Um, so a signal, like a repair operation. So I'm trying to key myself up. Like, let's get down to the meat here of this target. So show me the optimum position for tasking resolution. So I'm getting converting energy, AOL like a vortex. Okay. And then I go back to intangibles, energy propagation,
Hmm.
which I think is maybe a visual of what I'm seeing here. Because there were times where I felt like it's almost like maybe there's something happening that whatever this malfunction is causing something above possibly geologically. I mean, I had like geological stuff coming in.
Mhm. Well, it looks like some kind of a device, maybe something sparking off of it, looking at the image, like a part
Mm-hmm.
connected to something bigger.
Yeah, it's definitely some kind of technology that I don't think I'm too familiar with. That's what it reminds me of, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely looks complex.
So again, it's like this UFO, and this UFO, I say UFO, this non-surface rounded structure is looking at this structure, trying to do something with it. Again, this is where I have the signal, like trying to solve the world's energy problems. But so again, I'm trying to get to the meat here. So I prompt myself the primary focus, and I get hardware application. I signal investment opportunities, and then I AOL time machine. So yeah, something's really interesting here. I'm not sure. I mean, there's so much energy here. So and then I signal like trying to solve the world's energy problems. Okay, so I get site regulation, which to me, I believe might be like the physical site. I would suspect, like regulation to maybe be on the site has something to do with that. And again, gravitic, and this was interesting. I signaled this, but like transdimensional awareness capabilities. Yeah.
Very interesting. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
looks like advanced tech that maybe a time machine or building the time machine,
Mm-hmm.
experimenting with different kind of gravitic technology. This looks like different technologies doing interesting things.
Hmm.
And also investment opportunities. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is one of those. It's one of those situations like, oh, like we got our hands on something interesting. Here comes the privatized contract type of thing. Here we go.
mhm, very well. It's like multiple opportunities here of looking at things, and let's just see what happens with this stuff, maybe, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I AOL a dimensional shift. Um, I get an explosion. Um, I get the sense of a signal, like sending out a signal. So I had a feeling of trespass. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Um, the act of observation, like something's observing something, or I get a planetary observer, a sine wave. Must be going back to this signal, possibly. Um, and then I get the spatial anomaly.
And you said like a pulsing beacon of awareness.
Correct.
It's very
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, I mean, like I have this little, um, like a specter or spirit energy. This is just AOL, but yeah, like a pulsing beacon of awareness. Correct. Yeah.
And then you said yellow book.
Yeah, that was my AOL. But so I put this a couple pages over here. Maybe something's written about this, or that usually that's what my subconscious might be trying to tell me with that.
Mhm. And you have also spatial anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be that event
Mm-hmm.
up like
Yeah.
in the middle because it's very interesting. So it sounds like maybe somebody is recording these events in history, perhaps
Mm-hmm.
observing things and using this gravitic technology to record. Because the yellow book, that could refer to a bunch of things in contrast.
Yeah, like when I think of the Yellow Book, like I mean, I remember hearing something about this, like a book that has all this information of like our history type of thing. That's about all I know about it. Um, but yeah, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I mean, the orbs or I'll call them orbs. These spherical objects here feel almost autonomous to me. I mean, I tried going in there, I didn't really get anything. I wasn't picking up on any life within the orb at all. Um, so
Yeah, it feels like maybe it's like operated off-world somewhere with higher
mm-hmm,
consciousness. Maybe
mm-hmm,
it's beings operating it, but remotely. Maybe it's AI operating it
mm-hmm.
on behalf of beings. But it's autonomous for sure. That's
Yeah,
because
yeah,
again,
yeah.
here it is again.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's almost like a drone going around the side. I mean, to me, to be honest with you, it reminded me a lot of like the project that I did with psychic penetration, like this autonomous sphere, like going around. It just reminds me of that a lot. I mean, because I tried going in, like I said, and when we get to like the bigger structures, there was life, but this thing, I didn't get a sense there was anything in there really, like
Mhm.
biological in that way. So yeah, okay, so getting interesting here. Okay, so dielectric pulses, coded system, magnetic anomaly, AOL summer solstice. Okay, so I get a base surface electrical grid, geomagnetic, diverting electrical energy. I have the sun's orbit. I have this is kind of a lot. Like there's not much AOL here, but it's malevolent forces in gravitic technology.
Well, it looks like to me like an EMP platform generator system, honestly, like a laser beam
Mm,
that's is ready to shoot at something. That's what it looks like to me, like that EMP platform stuff
mm-hmm. Yeah,
that
yeah.
they've had since the 1940s, I guess. because it looks like it's a targeting system of some sort to me.
Yeah.
Because like an obelisk with a targeting system attached to it. And
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
orb thing is observing it. That's just what it looks like to me. It reminds me of just based on looking at the image, and this orb is investigating it maybe because it's like it's put on a land surface, obviously. So it's some kind of a it just feels like a targeting technology to me. Could be the malevolent forces. That's just an impression I get from this image of what
Yeah.
I'm seeing here.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely feels. I mean, I was getting the weapons in this tasking. So I mean, this definitely feels like there's weapons. This thing's like a heavy duty kind of a weapon thing type of vibe, to me.
Yeah,
Or
that
weaponized.
yeah, I'm getting similar stuff because it's just quite obvious, and maybe something is investigating what's going on here. Who's using these
Mm-hmm.
weapons? Why? What's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
It just that's how it feels to me.
Mm-hmm. So I'm getting a sense of ancestral knowledge related to this. Again, orbit. Um, the sense of orbit. And I AOL'd this, but that's probably wrong. But I have a moon feature, a specialized phenomena. I get electromagnetic radiation,
Sunspots. You also put in
sunspots.
sunspots.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Um,
So
I
again, so again, this could be now in my mind here. Now this could be the sun or something, or like over the land. There's this orbiting thing. I mean, this could be two planets, and then this is the sun. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely getting this sense of like orbit or something.
well, I'm getting the moon. So it looks like
Yeah, yeah.
man-made structure of moon stuff to me.
Hmm.
I think it could be a moon feature. I think that could be spot on because it just,
Hmm.
those when you hollow out a planetoid, it looks like this, and it could be parked around another planetoid, and it could be observing it and just
Hmm.
recording things like a almost like a planetary laboratory that
Hmm.
you could take a planetoid, hollow it out, turn it into a huge kind of a moving sphere moon, and stealth craft that's huge, looks like a moon, park it somewhere else around a planet, and observe and even change stuff on the environment on the surface of another planet. This just reminds me of that so much.
Sure.
What
Yep.
I'm seeing
Yep.
here, like not a Death Star, like a Death Star, but not more like
Hmm.
a some kind of a technology, like a planetoid technology. Could be our moon. Who knows? Just looks like that to me, and it's monitoring something on the surface of another place.
Yeah, and I got a lot of moon stuff, especially other sessions, and then obviously the whiteboard. Um, but yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
the
get
moon definitely feels associated with this in some way.
like it just feels like an observational station. When I look at this
Hmm.
image, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah,
That's what it
yeah.
reminds me of. The you're very good at capturing what's happening in a situation, I think. And you're getting interesting data. What is happening here?
Hmm. Yeah, so then I take another pass at it, and I drop right back down on
Hmm.
this eye looking at this obelisk or whatever, this basically the same thing.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to see like what else is going on. I'm trying to get different perspective. Um, but I sense of congestion, like maybe things are tightly packed in here. Maybe it's a busy little area of structures or something. But I also felt like an undersurface aspect too. So there's oftentimes it felt like tight quarters.
Because you said damp, mechanical, sweaty, blue, raised, deep hollow.
Hmm.
hard
Yeah.
structure going down.
Yeah.
So interesting, flat across, angled, and
Yeah. I have in my AOL. It's interesting. It's my first AOL is that it's probably Signal or even in maybe an EI, but I have coveted technology.
And you said while opaque, floating, cloudy, hot as well. So is that the
Yeah.
environment around this thing?
Yeah. I mean, there was times, and I'm not sure where the heat was coming from, but there was times I'm like, I had AOLs like of magma or lava or something, so I just was getting something like that, that maybe related to a core or a something. I'm not sure. But yeah, I did have some stuff along those lines. Yes, I did.
So it sounds like this technology, somebody is coveting technology of some sort,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because this stuff looks not normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like old fancy old space technology. It's like they're coming across this. It's almost like us finding stuff that was used a long time ago that looks interesting. Let's put it in the black budget type of thing. Kind of a vibe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, could be.
So yeah, and I was just getting these weird shaped structures, uh, and then I got this UFO above this weird shaped structure or non-surface structure, whatever you want to call it. Pretty classical saucer. Um, but I have like AOL preliminary examination, and I have an AOL rocket launch. So then I took a break. Well, just like that was just somebody came to my door or some very short break, and I went back to my stage 4.
Mm-hmm. Because to me that looks like, well, there looks like a UFO of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One craft, and then looks like another huge craft that
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of stuff, like pyramid shapes, rectangular shapes.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it looks like a huge, either a submarine or a huge
That's what
spacecraft.
yeah, I almost AOL a submarine. It was, just weird shaped, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
like either a sub or a very advanced pyramid-shaped craft from outer
mm-hmm.
space because it has
Yeah.
elements of pyramid stuff,
Mm-hmm.
rectangles, octagons. Well,
Well, that the mothership that I have later on, I mean, to me, from my perspective, it's like somebody slapped a pyramid on top of a giant spaceship. I mean, that's to me what it reminds me of.
uh,
Um,
this reminds me of that too. Like it could either be a spaceship, like an advanced spacecraft of some sort, or it's a
mm-hmm.
submarine that's very advanced also and weird looking. Either
Mm-hmm.
or works for both kind of a situation from this image and some kind of
Yeah.
a other UFO thing going down or around or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah, my sense was like this was on the base surface or on the ground, whatever, and this thing was just kind of flying over it or away from it or around it.
Because you got shadowy, flaky, interesting sensations there, and like stepping stones of something going on in this
Mm-hmm.
scene. Like two objects, one here, huge thing there, and there's another craft. So it looks like strange tech to me.
Yeah, yeah. Not
Advanced
something you'd
strange tech.
find. Yeah, it's just very. I often had just very strange shapes. Just not your
Mhm.
standard, block building. It's just strange.
I feel the same. Like when I was seeing this, I'm like, oh, intriguing. I want to see more.
Mm, yeah. So I've got divert energy weapons, anomaly. Like there's I keep feeling there's some kind of maybe an anomaly or a phenomena that may be related to what's happening here. Um, and on maybe the backside of it, it has something to do with these energy weapons or something.
Because you said radar weaponry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I felt this
Purposeful.
was purposeful. Yeah, yeah. Like something about this is it's not an accident.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a sense of the seepage, a multifaceted engagement, and I signaled solar warden technology, um, which again that comes much later, where I was getting the sense of these several non-surface structures around a planetary body. Um, but at this point, that really didn't come to frame yet. But I'm getting a radiant energy frequency. Um,
Yeah.
Again, I get a deafening sound connected to this mechanized equipment.
You got metallic and boxy as well. So those could be those objects.
Yeah, but again, power surges, mechanical failure. I put it in my AOL like debunking a whistleblower. I don't know why.
And you also had mechanized equipment,
hmm
equipment failure, power surges, mechanical failure. Like debunking a whistleblower?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I
interesting.
don't know. Yeah,
That is what what's your feeling about that?
like debunking a whistleblower.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if that would mean like say if I don't think it's I don't think this is proving somebody wrong. I think if anything, it's proving somebody possibly right. So from my perspective, um, so when I say that, it's not like I'm saying something negative about like some whistleblower. I'm saying if there is a whistleblower associated to this and he's talking about this, then he's probably correct. I mean, like I'm picking up on what they might be discussing, type of thing. That's kind of what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So I try to do at least. I'm not. I don't do a lot of stage 5, but I try to just to break down. You get these. Sometimes you get valid data, or even something related to something. Uh, and so I try to break those down to the simplest parts, which is stage 5, which kind of gives you basically what produced this idea.
Mm-hmm.
Its basic components. I didn't have much in objects, but I have a diabolical. I get eugenics, territorial. Um, I get for the subject. I get avoiding detection, sub or below territory. I get adjustment and causation of anomaly. Like from my perspective, that whatever I'm remote viewing is causal of a bigger picture of some kind of anomalous thing that's happening, possibly. Um, so topics, I get release of information, document, and corporate espionage.
And you
That's
also
fall
got
activity.
existential threat, object examination, um, diabolical,
Mm-hmm.
territorial.
Yeah, I got eugenics and territorial.
Mm-hmm. Well, it honestly, it looks like Black Ops stuff, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing good for me or you. Like, I don't get
No.
anything like that.
Uh,
I mean, like everyday common man. Yeah, it's dark,
like,
dark stuff, secret stuff.
yeah, territory. It looks like a lot of stuff is going on here that we're getting
Yeah.
to, and corporate espionage, release of documentation of some sort. What kind of
hmm
documentation?
My sense would be it's well going from the whole big pie of everything. It could be something to do with this larger fleet, like this dark fleet. It could have something to do with retrieval of some of these things, or checking out stuff on Mars or the moon or something like that. But something on a very large scale that's basically being we're not seeing.
Yeah, that's not being disclosed to us. It's behind
Yeah,
the scenes
yeah,
stuff that
yeah, yeah.
we don't get a look at
Hmm.
every day, do we?
Yeah, no.
And corporate espionage could be corporations, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, like corporate espionage. Some
Hmm.
of
That's the
these,
vibe I got. It's something. It's something like that. It's what we're dealing with. It's almost like these guys. I don't know if these guys are funding what's happening here, but these guys are the ones going to end up with what they're looking at. I guarantee. It's
mhm,
kind of my vibe.
they probably have a lot of reverse engineered stuff off
Hmm.
world that they've
Yeah.
retrieved. Or somebody gave it to them and they kind of went and worked at it and reverse engineered it. I wouldn't be surprised if that corporate espionage has something to do with corporations,
Hmm.
specific type of corporations too, that are in the
Hmm.
aerospace industry in the US in
Yeah, and I
particular.
think defense came in quite a bit, like in this whole thing, just defense contracts, stuff like that. But so again, so existential threat. Somebody here feels like an alienated feeling. Okay, um, like a submersible taking pictures is my signal. But again, I've got this little round non-surface structure taking pictures of structures. I get a detecting device. This feels below, underwater or below somewhere.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I had this mothership, but there's something, and we'll probably get into it later on the other stuff. But man, I mean, it's almost like this thing. It could make itself look like land or something. Is what it reminded me of. It's like this thing has such a unique stealth capability to it. I was kind of enamored with in the session. I'm like, how is it this happening? But I had like it was docking up and it was like integrating with the land and kind of tying up to the land. So that was kind of my first, I think, big sketch of it. But when I look at that, to me too, it's almost like, first of all, this thing's huge, huge. It's the biggest non-surface structure I've ever remote viewed. Huge. Um, but it's almost like it feels like land on top or something, like I'm it's just strange. It's really hard to describe, but it's a ship.
And you said like hidden in a plain sight.
Correct.
So it maybe has cloaking, masking, camouflage ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and again, I don't know, like, because there's several taskings here, but there's a moment where this thing comes in, integrates with the land, and it's like you'd never know it was there. Once it does that.
Mm-hmm. It's like when crocodiles are swimming in that water, you won't know them until you see them when they're right on top of you,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like
Yeah.
surprise. That
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
eye is looking at you from the water,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, "Oh gosh, this
Yeah.
ancient thing is right on top of me or beside me." Like just the cloaking and the camouflaging, like blending in into your surroundings, right? That's why I
Mm-hmm.
said crocodile because they're green, right? Like the marsh, like the green water, so they're just you won't see them coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was a time where I had like this thing has no discernible features. That was like such a strange thing to me to get that impression. So my guess would be perhaps it was completely cloaked or something. Like, you could not see it, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting the impression like just the idea that technology can be made from organic surrounding things like studying animals, studying the environment of nature and camouflage techniques. You can look at how animals camouflage and you can replicate that on craft. That's just a vibe I'm getting from this.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I mentioned the
Yeah.
crocodile because it has camouflage. It
Mm-hmm.
blends in wherever it crawls, swims, it just blends in into the greenery, into the scene, a brown, green. You could kind of, just its body shape, it blends in wherever it goes, and you wouldn't even know it if you saw it. It
Yeah.
just sits there and waits, and then it pops out when you least expect. Like that thing can do that too.
Yeah.
Just from what I'm just kind of like getting that it's not just inorganic. It it's based on something that somebody studied and can replicate camouflaging so well in technology.
Hmm.
That's just an aspect of what I'm
Yeah,
getting.
and I heard it like like phonetically as I'm getting deeper, you get like we hear him talking at the target, you know. And I heard like docking procedures. I heard okay, integrate with the land features. Like it was like I'm listening to a commander bark out orders to his, you know, the crew type of thing.
Very intriguing.
So yeah, I feel the mothership is causing an anomaly above the base surface. Again, gravitic. So I'm trying to, again, is there anything else? Like I'm trying to give me everything. Show me anything else directly related to this target, and I get phenomena. Signal, like this object is pulling on gravity. Um, a signal again, geostorm, like concaving the area.
Canvassing, maybe?
Oh, canvassing. That's what it is. Canvassing. Yeah. Geostorm, and again, gravitic wave dispersal. And then again, signal, like pulling in gravity and releasing electrical fields, observable from space. And then I broke off, and that was the whole thing until my summary.
So do you think this is the same UFO that's doing the camouflaging, or is this another one?
Um, so here's what I would, you know how this it comes in pieces, you know. So but if I had to put, if you put it, you know, like if I had to take a stab at this, it's almost as if there is a gigantic mothership in the base surface somewhere, and it's causing weird stuff to happen, type of thing. That's what I would. That's kind of what I would. If I had to throw a dart at it, that's kind of what I would say.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense to me because it could it could camouflage, be on surface, be above
Mm-hmm.
surface, can be watching, can be doing stuff. It's multi-faceted, multitasking, capable of many, many things, not just one specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your kind of your target summary of everything that was, I guess, observed here.
Yeah, and I kept it kind of brief because what'll happen is like, I'll do a summary, but when I go to whiteboard, it almost sometimes it's like clears everything a lot more up to me.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I've noticed like I'll put too much in the summary or not enough. But anyway, I just kept it brief. But I had my written summary. I'm picking up on an event involving multiple structures. I'm sensing electrical energy, an orbital structure, and a much larger structure I refer to as the mothership. There is a magnetic anomaly. This feels gravitic. I sense mechanical failure and an active search. This object has a problematic weapon system that is causing a phenomena above the surface. I have an energy signature. This is disturbing to me. A deafening sound related to this, energetic particles, a magnetic wave anomaly is associated with this. I am picking up on a waveform energy event. I sense diverted energy. This feels unstable. Proprietary examination. Something about this feels investigative. I sense centrifugal forces, a signal, a base surface electrical grid, geomagnetic, a sense of a multifaceted engagement taking place here. Radiant energy frequency and mechanized equipment, power surges, and again, mechanical failure.
It sounds like a lot of different technology that is looked at, investigated, worked with, maybe experimented on and collected, like you said, from Earth's ancient past. And this stuff is like almost like being put into a study and maybe used and being repurposed and reused. Something
Mm-hmm.
bigger, like technology being taken to be used part of something bigger,
Mm-hmm.
broader plan
Yeah.
here. a broader
Yeah.
scope, and we're looking at bits and pieces of that and connecting what that stuff is and what the purpose is, maybe. That's just what I'm reading from this.
Hmm.
Like we're getting puzzle pieces to something that's very complex. Kind of like my understanding. What was your impressions of this stuff?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like the first tasking to me felt kind of more like more direct at one kind of thing, and then the other one felt a little more broad. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's how it all fits in. It's really strange. I mean, in the other sessions, I mean, you'll see. I mean, I've got this gigantic mothership coming down to a planet, and so I don't know if it's like a before or after situation, but yeah, I mean, you've got the moon, you've got the sun, I've got this thing. I go into very deep explanation going into this mothership and all these crafts that are on it, um, and then going into the other stuff. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah, I mean, whatever this is involving, it's a huge undertaking, huge operation, huge. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what the feedback is. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, the feedback will be after we do after we go over the whiteboard sessions, which there's 5 of, and I'm just collating all because I still have the whiteboard videos, like I've looked at all of them, so I'm just collating all the images, like doing screenshots of images, and then I'll put everything that you got from the whiteboard, I'll put it in a report so we can go over that in this type of a setting as well, because
Hmm.
that's all from videos, so it has to be extracted, collated into a report format, so we can go over it like this.
Sounds
Um,
good.
I'm kind of, I guess what I'm doing is taking the whiteboard stuff that you recorded on video and turning it into a PDF that we can
Hmm.
look at and follow along as you're explaining
Sure,
exactly in the sequence of the whiteboard, and that will be part 2 of this.
sure.
So today we're looking at the paper sessions.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this is target 2. So paper session target 2, session 1 results for B0224-S0424. So it's
Yeah, so
another target that's interrelated to target 1.
yeah, so this one I'm getting this spiral formation, a bunch of like structures or something, but just kind of your basic stage 2 building up into dimensional kind of impressions, spinning, feeling, boxy dimensions, gold colors. Yeah, just your basic stage 2 dimensions.
You said warm, boxy, filmy. You had kind of
Hmm.
this stuff in as a drawing, interesting, like
Hmm.
rusted flakes floating, blue spiral formation.
Hmm.
So it's like you're beginning of going into another target. Like, what's the impressions here, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's very, it's you're building from a very small to very big data, so you're just kind of just picking up little small impressions, and then once you get into sketching, you're building out that dimensional space, and then from there you start to get higher level data. So these are just
Mm-hmm.
little pieces that are kind of getting me into the door here. And again, we come across this, which reminds me again of this, like I don't know if it's the staging area, whatever, but these, these big open frame things, almost like they're looking into something or looking at something. I don't know. It just reminds me of like a stage when I look at that. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's you said like blonde, crassy, bulbous, narrow. Feels like a sense of engagement here. Some wooden parts, some like metallic buttressing.
Hmm.
Um, And there was an AOL.
Yeah, ranged weaponry.
And Army something.
Army green color. Like I'm seeing that camouflage green. And then yeah, AOL thin metallic fragments. AOL staging area.
Yeah, like some kind of a maybe military thing with a facility.
Yeah, it's
So,
definitely military related. There's military all over this. All over this.
yeah, like a surface structure of something. It definitely looks like a staging area for something.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it looks
Yeah,
like
to me, it's
that.
almost they have lights on something, or or cameras on something, or something.
Hmm.
Kind of looks like that.
Oh yeah, totally. So metallic wooden parts, parts wooden staging area for something. Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
even like what you drive into as a checkpoint or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, could be.
Not a
Mm-hmm.
guard shack, more sophisticated than a guard shack. But like maybe looks like a checkpoint or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or building kind of a staging area for some other stuff that will be around this. And this is a
Mm-hmm.
support system for it, potentially. Because it looks
Yeah.
like the beginning stages of building something.
Yeah. To me, I mean, when I look at that, to me, it's almost like they're either building something or retrieving something, and this is the architecture to pull it out, type of thing, or something like that. I mean, just a
Hmm.
general vibe.
Oh yeah, totally. And then you go and look at
Mm-hmm.
things here, more of
Now
that.
that, yeah, yeah. See, now this to me reminds me of space. Um, it just does. It just almost reminds you of like something floating out in space, and it has this. I don't know if this is the mothership or what, but you have these UFOs, or what I keep saying UFOs, non-surface structures. Okay, that's what
Mhm.
I would call those things. And then that could be out there a sun, a planetary body, or an opening. But then below that, you have this massive structure with what I believe are fighters, or like fighter, maybe fighter craft. But when I probe into them, I get fighters, and to me, it feels like because there's bodies and stuff too, but these feel like craft to me. Like I feel like these are probably individual craft within this structure.
Mhm. And you said staging area, AOL,
Mm-hmm.
and collective engagement.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, to me, it looks like a huge base and probably like hangar deck with craft parking and going in and out of the
Mm-hmm.
entrance potentially. That's just because it looks like a flat surface and things being
Mm-hmm.
parked in and out, going in and out, in
Yeah.
and out.
Well, and that's what and I can't, because you don't want to, like my analytical mind's kicking in. But when I was going through there, one thing I did notice was because I could I'm like, is this a base or something? Because I had all this underground feelings.
Mhm.
But what I did feel is that, so I didn't know, like I'm like, is this either a mothership underground or is it an underground base? Because I did feel like it was almost like these walls just open up and these things could just go out, but I'm not sure. But that's just the general sense of it. And this is still stage 3.
Yeah, I think it's motherships going in and out. I think it's crafts going in and out. Probably a huge base facility of something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it could be on any planet. Like,
I mean,
and
some of these structures were so big. I mean, the when I mean, you usually the scale's kind of difficult, but when it's so big that it really took me back when you'll see it in the whiteboard. But when I sketched that motherboard, I was like, whoa, how could this thing how could this thing be this big? It was definitely the biggest ship I've ever remote viewed, for sure.
yeah,
But go on,
because
go ahead, go on.
we had different like pyramid crafts appearing. We had motherships appearing, and that's in the whiteboard stuff. Because I'm going
Mm-hmm.
over all the images and collating that, and then the information I'll put in from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to, for us to look at this, it has to be in a report style similar to this from the video whiteboard.
Sure.
To put it for us to go over. So, but this looks like something, a lot of stuff is happening here in different tubular sections and, like more than one level of something in a base facility.
Oh yeah, because I'm seeing it now. It almost looks like a tram here because I did have like this bridge system and this tunnel or bridge system, uh, but again, they'll see it in the whiteboard. I talk more about it.
Like a huge elevator.
Yes,
Up
yeah,
and
right in the
down in the
center.
middle. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
levels of crafts and other things, and like a tram
Mm-hmm.
system on top, entrance
Mm-hmm.
point, and then another level of craft coming in, going out of something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of and looks like triangular things
I mean, this
interconnecting.
structure right here. I mean, to house all this is
Yeah,
like on a scale that's almost unbelievable. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I mean,
yeah.
trying to it, but you know, just,
It it's huge. Like this is a
yeah,
lot of stuff going on here.
yeah. So I get elliptical orbit. Something. Okay, so I get the sense of ingenious. I put an EI, but to me it felt more like the design of something possibly. But I had stealth observers. Um, and I had a signal like a byproduct of assimilation. Um, and maybe that's the conversion of the technology or something to do with the life there. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's an AOL. But so I have high elevation, a spatial anomaly, and an AOL center lane project, which was interesting. So to me, I mean, maybe the old crew, some might have looked into something around this or something, or not. But that's kind of what it reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
So space research anomaly, vast resources, environmental research. This feels like a staging area for something big.
Like tons of crafts, fighters, all kinds of things coming and going. Entrance. Because you said also blue, orange, brown, dusty, intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
So you were getting sensations from this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this probably all of this is describing the thing we just saw above, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
The
then you were
structure feels featureless
from the
from the
outside.
outside. Yeah, from the outside. So again, this which to me doesn't make sense in the statement unless this thing was invisible. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so again, that so this is interesting. So I have AOL Third Reich, and then I have awaiting your arrival, which is interesting.
And you also have space weapons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, when I look at that structure, I mean, I don't know what that is, but to me, it almost looks like maybe a satellite or something, but something that is weaponized or something. you know, technology for sure.
Yeah, because you said
Um,
code red, space
mm-hmm,
canopy, reconnaissance.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got that a lot of reconnaissance mission seems to be related to this. And then I don't know if I put it in AOL or tangibles, but I have an Icelandic space base. Um, so
Interesting. I
yeah, I'm
mean,
getting. Oh, go
there's
ahead.
all kinds of info coming out about tall whites, Nordics having facilities in space and having bases on Earth. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this related to when you get into the non-human aspects of this, or what they're looking at, related to ancient, you know, it's. I mean, you remote view enough of this stuff. There's ancient stuff. I don't know if this relates to this or not, but there's ancient stuff that's quite old. That's
mhm.
very futuristic by our standards that we don't know about. Like they find it,
Yeah.
I don't know if that relates to this, but I'm just saying that there's either an ancient race or something is related to this.
Yeah, and you said ancient primal instincts.
And yeah, yeah.
So it could be. It's very
Hmm.
interesting. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like this. So for me, looking at this, I'm like, huh, he's getting a lot of good stuff. And it's all interrelated, trust me, it's all interrelated to what you're picking up on. Um, and again, you went to a lot of whiteboard sessions to get even more clarity on this. So we're seeing the
Hmm.
beginning stuff, and then we're gonna see the whiteboard.
Right, right, right. Yeah, there's definitely something here, and it's really interesting. If there wasn't anything here, this would just it would be a big mess. You know what I mean? Nothing would make sense, and I could just you could feel it. But I could tell there's something really interesting here. That's why I keep digging and digging and
Hmm.
digging.
Hmm.
But yeah, so AOL Wreckage site, and I've got a classic saucer pretty much over there on the left.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then I don't know if this, but I have an AI break. I sense a heroic moment in time.
Hmm. And you said salty acidic green, fluorescent blue, angular tall.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like a craft. Could be a
Yeah,
site wreckage.
yeah. Yeah, and in this session, I had like broken stuff, rocky stuff, but I had this like something about this feels publicized. Um, yeah, like no discernible features on this craft, but I get enabling gravitic assembly, a strike team. Oftentimes, I described them as special forces.
Hmm.
Now, I didn't describe them as like Space Force or anything like that, but I described them as special forces. So again, like it doesn't feel like Space Force. It feels like more like Dark Fleet or something. I don't know. I don't know, but it always came in special forces like that. That's how it came in.
Well, it could be black operations forces as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And because he said like strike team, dark feeling of living in bondage. That was interesting.
yeah, yeah. You know what's great? Well, we'll get into that, but yeah. So I get a sense of an insurgency. Occult books related to this. Okay, I get rescue equipment, getting a noxious gas, AOL smoking gun. Um, what was interesting to me about this is when you get. I'll just wait till it comes up.
Well, we
Um,
can say it. It's
well, here's what was okay. So we will get to a point where there's these non-human beings. Okay, and there was beings behind bars, and it took me a while to kind of sort it out because I didn't know if it was like the humanoids were behind bars, but to me it felt like these beings were behind bars, these non-humans, and they felt relatively passive, which kind of surprised me. So I guess my surprise would be is like you've got this humanoid force, and maybe they're rescuing these guys or something, but I have these like insectoids like behind bars, and they seem more like the passive group in this situation. So to me, it was like I kind of felt like what was weird to me. I was like, oh, like I thought we were the good guys. You know what I mean? Like that was the weird vibe from my perspective as a remote viewer. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, totally. I mean, you
Yeah.
can have humans in remote viewing, you can have non-humans, NHI, non-human intelligences, or extraterrestrials. It could
Mm-hmm.
be a mixture of different things. It's like when you're looking at this stuff, it's like, what is this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And you also had something about operational parallelisms or paper
That's a
something.
Operation Paperclip. It's
Operation Paperclip, okay.
yeah, yeah. It's my AOL.
And that is where a bunch of scientists from Germany came over to the US. They were extracted and they created a US Space Force, I guess, and rocketry and other things.
That's right. Yeah.
Operation Paperclip. It might go back to that time as well. What is in this?
Mm-hmm.
It's quite.
Yeah. There was a time. Like there was something like an impression came in just like this around the time of the Cold War. So something related to that must have some kind of relation to what's happening here. This is kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, and you also mentioned occult books related to this
Mm-hmm.
and rescue equipment, like search and rescue, smoking gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's well,
Yeah. Now we're getting into the stuff where it's almost like they're recovering materials or something.
yeah, because it
I've
says,
got all this broken stuff, and
mhm, yeah, makes sense. Enabling gravitic assembly, or like they're trying to assemble stuff from stuff that has been recovered, maybe UFO crash
Mm-hmm.
sites, retrievals, and blending technology together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trying to build something from something else and figure out how it all meshes together.
So yeah, so I get show me the primary function of this structure. Excuse me, and I get a retaliatory nature. I AOL the tactical nuke.
Mhm.
Um, and that octagon should be over on the other side, but I'm hearing grinding sounds. Now, get that non-surface structure above, but to me, I look at this structure. It's like we've got a lot of going on here. Now, this is something to do with underground. Um, like this is almost like I'm looking underground almost. This is kind of what it feels like to me.
Mhm.
Um, and it's like we're kind of getting layers, like that maybe that rounded structure is under a hilltop or something. Um, but that's where I get like that bridge system under there and all that. What else do I have?
Infiltration device.
Infiltration device, yeah, and I have benevolent
Benevolent creatures.
caretakers. Your creatures, yeah. I signal an abandoned mission. Um, I took a break, but then I have like a tunnel or a bridge system. That's that narrow thing down there. And again, that to me feels like it's like an X-ray, like I'm seeing through the ground here. That's maybe what I'm looking at.
Yeah, like benevolent creatures, land survey, high elevation.
Mm-hmm.
Almost looks like the face of Mars to me when you're looking at it.
Yeah, there was a lot of times where I said, like I'm hearing in my head, almost like my clear audience is like, spot on the map, like the X spot on the map. So it's almost like this relates to some kind of geography of some spot, some location. To me, that may relate to the feedback, maybe it doesn't. But that's kind of what it felt like.
Well, tons going on.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. And I think, like you said, there's a lot of stuff going on in these targets and underground locations, surface locations, tech. I don't think it's your normal run-of-the-mill stuff that usually happens that we see. This is
Yeah,
what we don't get to see that we're now seeing in this remote viewing.
yeah.
That's just how it feels like to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so I have here survivors of an abandoned mission. Um, and I have a surveillance effort. I have first responders, AOL to cyclotron. Okay, so I a pressure spike. I got a pressure spike. Um, columns of ice. I get I put it in between intangibles and AOL, but a distress call. So this whole thing here, I'm getting this whole thing about like disclosure. But I just started kinesthetically sketching this, and it would remind me of is it's almost like I was seeing some kind of law being passed or something, happening,
Hmm.
you know, um, with maybe behind closed doors or something about how they deal with some of this stuff. I get response team, classified document, sense of
Mhm.
disclosure somehow relating to this event.
And you said like no something viable, no longer viable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like no longer inert. I have distress calls, inert. Because there was times it was like I had code red. It's almost like somebody was calling for help. But I have like no longer viable, um, inert, like a Senate passing a bill on something. I get fanfare, um, like releasing the documents. A sense of exposure related to this, and I have hidden laws being passed or enacted.
Well, seems like something is being, a lot of these things behind the scenes, crash site retrievals, extraterrestrials, black ops programs, all these things we don't get to see every day. And it's likely
Mm-hmm.
what this stuff is behind the scenes. Again, I think we're looking at a bunch of different things that are interrelated to each other
Mm-hmm.
and something happening behind the scenes where government and the rest of them perhaps need to slot all of this in as part of disclosure, maybe
Mm-hmm.
as
Like
a
to me, this is almost like Senate meeting behind closed doors. This kind
yeah,
of reminded me of like something about this phenomena being talked about outside of the public and deciding how to handle it.
yeah, yeah, behind closed door meetings and passing hidden laws being passed enacted related to this. Wow, sense of exposure. So maybe something is gonna pop the whistle and break the silence on all of this stuff. And this is what this
Yeah,
is.
when I got that, I'm like, oh, I hope that's not me. I don't know what that's related to, but we'll see. Yeah,
I think it's related to the target and the subject matter and the
yeah,
target
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some big secrets being kept that are about to be
Yeah,
unloaded somewhere somehow.
yeah. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So yeah, I sense someone. Okay, this is someone related to disclosure, like a personal interest in this topic. Okay, this feels investigated. Like just watch, like just here to watch and wait. Um, and to me, it's almost like I had all these craft lined up like around the planetary body or something of a space fleet. Okay, so but I did have okay, so organized, rational decision making was being employed around this. um, Gravitic technology seems really important to someone here. But again, to me, this is like a gigantic, or maybe this isn't the huge one, but this seems like a UFO, like hidden in the mountain feature or something, or in the land. That's kind of what that feels like to me. And I'm getting dark matter technology, hardware, like a stealth technique, invisible to the human eye, sitting right there at AOL Mount Shasta. I get a mountain rage. It feels heavily guarded. AOL in Arctic tundra.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in Antarctica, craft being seen, stuff in the ice or below the ice as well. So
Mm,
the Arctic tundra, that's interesting. There's mm,
yeah, I mean, to me, it was almost like well, I don't know, but to me, it was almost like this thing could be disguised as like, you would just never know it. Like it could be a mountain, it could be a like it could literally just come right out, and it somehow could just be disguised with the environment. Because when it landed, you see in whiteboard, but it's like a puzzle piece going right into the earth or the
mhm.
ground, wherever it's at. I also got a sense it was tying into like an electrical grid of the planet somehow.
like
So
like there's custom made stuff for it that fits it like a slot to a
mm-hmm,
T.
mm-hmm, Yeah.
I'm here. I need to go and park. Where's my hangar deck? Where's my hangar bay? Where's my parking spot? I need to go back home. And then the lid or the hatch closes in the ground and it goes back where it needs to go until it's ready to
Yeah.
go out again. That's kind of the impression I was getting from the whiteboard stuff. Some of
Yeah.
these crafts can just go in and out of their bases, locations, wherever mountain ranges. So it's like customization is going on here.
And it seems very isolated. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not like it's, these aren't in the city. Wherever these
No,
are, these are very isolated areas. And these
remote
are,
and
yeah,
isolated.
yeah, big mountain structures. I mean, just where you could hide something of this size is kind of what it felt like.
Yep.
So this is kind of like another take on it. It's almost like it's something's in the land or the water, something's hiding there.
Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it could shoot in everywhere and come out of anything and in and out, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so personnel, I get this, because I'm trying to abandon mission that came up a couple times. Wanted to see what that was about. So I broke it down. Selection, versatility, it's somebody's responsibility. There's a tragic event related to this, an invasive response. The topic is response, geographical survey. Again, trespass, observation, and law.
Hmm. And then you have object examinations personnel and the abandoned mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very interesting. And it's going into the next part of this as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So scroll down.
Geological research being done here. I AOL'd it, but a research facility or vessel. And then I have like a drone army. This is what's interesting too. Now that this comes up, I want to make mention of this. When like a drone arm, I mean, I've both viewed quite a few weird targets, alien stuff. When I got like a drone army, I was expecting to see like grays or something. It was not that from my perspective. From my perspective, the drones were the humanoid species.
And you saw flight pattern. You said flight
Mm-hmm.
pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, black operations groups could have reverse engineered tech that human pilots are flying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
If it's
That's
not,
that's what really surprised me here is and we'll get into it later, but there was like planetary. They were getting people were leaving the planet and all kinds of stuff. But and we may and the humanoids may not have been mean or anything, but they felt like they were in charge for sure of this situation, whatever this is.
Mhm. So
Blue,
this is,
dark, sulfury smells, sounds of voices. EI break wicked. So there's probably some stuff going on here I don't like, or people that I wouldn't be liking too much. Opaque, peaked, brown, iridescent. I think this is where I get into like this octagonal shape or something.
and you said sunny as well.
Yeah, sunny. Um, cool, humming, vibrating, deep, elongated. Many. Gosh, I can't even see that. Many
Then
volatiles. What is it?
I sense
Oh,
many,
variables. Is that what it is?
I
I
think
think it's
so,
variables. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I don't.
associated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many variables associated with this target, and again, AOL break espionage.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a human and something else.
Looks like it might have a snout and something on its head.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he's human.
No,
Whatever it is. I mean, I think it's a
no.
human and something else. Um,
Well, could
because
be it.
there was definitely insectoids, like there's insectoids around, but there might have been a mixed bag of species floating around.
Mhm.
Definitely humanoid, definitely insectoid. That may be of a reptilian type, so I'm not sure, but not human. I can
Well,
tell you that.
I'm definitely seeing a snout and some kind of a headgear that's pyramid shaped or something or conical
Hmm.
in its
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
Could be reptilian. Interesting.
Hmm.
And then we have the insectoid.
Hmm. Yeah, I get a conservation effort. Okay, so like a slow release of document. This is AOL, remnants of Atlantis. But so here I get this insectoid, clearly.
Mhm.
Um, Devastating news related to this. But what is weird to me is when I probed into these guys, they seemed like pacifists to me. They didn't seem, um, unless they were, some other species. But that's kind of what I got out of that. But I kept wanting to draw mandibles on these guys. So to me, it's an insectoid type.
And you got
Um,
cruel, the word cruel beside it.
yeah, yeah.
So
So somebody's
trying
being
to be,
cruel.
yeah, somebody's trying to be cruel to them, perhaps, or
Well, that's what I think it is because actually now I'm remembering now too because there was this point where and this happened a couple times. I sketched this. This guy's got like a weapon on this ET, and he's scared to death. I mean, he's just scared. Um, so to me, it's almost like these guys got taken by surprise, or because every time I get this scene that you'll see coming up, this ET is just freaked out, and the guy is more like the aggressor from my perspective.
because you have scare tactics here.
Scare tactics. Assemble the fleet. It's like something somebody would say, you know, um, ulterior motives, reconnaissance, AOL to marsupial.
Hmm. Oh, I think like insectoid looks insectoid to me and definitely has
Mm.
mandibular aspects. So maybe humans are catching extraterrestrials that are exotic to study.
Mm. Yeah,
It just
yeah,
feels like,
yeah. I mean, I had well, and to me, again, so like as you go in, like things get more time, things kind of get clearer and clearer. So at first, I'm like, okay, I've got soldiers behind cages. I felt like he felt like a little guy, like a little alien or something. But I'm like, maybe that's too early. Then later on, I got another perspective where there was a bunch of them in cages. I had a bunch of them, um, and it was kind of like an assortment. It's not like they all looked exactly like that, but they had similar insectoid like features. A lot of them.
mhm. Not sure about the marsupial, but I mean, there's many
That's
different,
AOL. Yeah,
yeah.
it's AOL. It
Mm,
comes up sometimes when I do even grays or insectoids. That's the AOL that comes with it. I don't know why.
mm. Interesting. I mean, there's different extraterrestrial species
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
Could be tons of exploration.
So it's I don't know if I'm going into this guy, but I get a planetary. I think is that
Either excavation or evacuation.
excavation. Yeah, and then said I got this too. This bound by blood. This came up quite a bit. There is like a pact or something to do with like a blood something, but a secret pact being made. A evolved species, telepathically enhanced, but I have soulless creatures in my AOL. That's AOL. Um, the primary force, I'm trying to get the primary focus of what's being tasked here. The response, a peace treaty, and they have like a like reclaiming one's property. It's almost like there were times where it was like, are we fighting over this? Is there a planetary fight or something? Because that's what it felt like. It felt like we were kicking people out of the off planets or something, um, or saving them, one or the other. You know, I'm not sure, but it didn't seem very friendly the way it was being done. So, um, yeah,
Interesting. Well, it doesn't look that human. So,
no, that guy's definitely not human.
and mountains, something to do with mountain range,
Hmm.
where this could have been happening.
Yes, and they got all these UFOs heading to this. Um, feels like a planetary body. Um, so there are remnants of an old species here. Um, I get foreign affairs. Okay, planetary bombardment. Um, trajectory. I get the impression there's a doc a document on this event. I've got AOL Space Force Directive and a deep space something. But yeah, so basically I have all these
Deep, deep Space Force, directable or something like that.
directive, I think.
Directive. And you have Star Cluster, you have Sirius B, you have Foreign Affairs, and on top you have gaseous something.
State, a gaseous state.
Mm-hmm. You have a like a star cluster, you have UFOs flying, and then you have Sirius B.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So something may be happening in Sirius B that we're not aware of, but it's documented.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I felt that there was some kind of a core, like a planetary core issue somewhere or something. Um, I'm not sure where, but that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like somebody was kind of like leaving a planet or something. Um, yeah, a deep space weapons platform.
Maybe that was like, and you have an arrow pointing up at this, so maybe something got fired at a planet and went
Hmm.
awry, went the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah.
Something happened in Sirius B with UFOs, star cluster, and a deep space weapons platform, perhaps.
Hmm.
And that does it feel like a recent event, or does this feel ancient to you?
Well, there definitely feels like a modern era ongoing something or other type of thing. So I feel like whatever this is relates at least somehow to what's going on right now. Um, to what degree, I'm not sure. Um,
Mhm. Well, it centers around space. It centers around humans, extraterrestrials, advanced tech, space weapons, military. I think sort of combines in these targets. Like it shows us things that we need to know about, perhaps, what's
mhm.
going
It
on.
Yeah, I mean, it has that whole space opera vibe to it.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree. Just so many hidden aspects that we're seeing here that we need to know about.
Again, proprietary engagement, um, weapons platform.
And then you said
Yeah,
curing or something up top, the word up top.
yeah, curing. It looks like. Oh, or curving. I think is what
Curving,
that is.
curving.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I get the sense of an exchange, and there were many times where to me it was almost like a prison exchange. Oftentimes, because I have these insectoids behind cages, and I have these human bodies in pods of some kind. Now, they could be like a stasis thing or whatever, but there was hundreds, if not thousands, of these pods of humanoid species in and
Mhm.
around this target area.
Is it, you said shadowy, so it could be like mountain ranges or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or this. I mean, I have these because I have mountain ranges and I have this fragmented equipment. Like broken things too. So it's one or the other type of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Sounds of voices. Yeah, clapping. Yeah, this is okay. So when I'm remembering going through the session. So the prior session I had the whole thing with Senate passing something or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, kind of, I think that's kind of where this AOL spurred from. It's almost like I'm in the Senate here. I'm listening to these people, like agree with this type of thing. But I AOL'd it and just kept going on.
Yeah, because you have blue, red, gray, whistling sound, black,
Mm-hmm.
arched or something.
Yeah, arched. Yeah,
And you have smoke or at the bottom,
something heavy, I think is what it says.
something heavy. Okay. And then you kind of go on to have a look.
Okay, AI break. I get a sense of a very sensitive subject here. Now, this to me is the first. This is when I started getting to the prisoners. When I got this guy. To me, that's what it is. It's like a guy behind bars. I have a jailed prisoner.
Yeah, because you were getting sharp, narrow gray. There's a lot of sensations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you said
Confinement. Oh
mm-hmm,
yeah, yeah. Curved, rough, metallic, edged. It's like a prison cell.
mm-hmm.
This guy's in. Feelings of confinement.
And then you had some other few things towards the bottom. Confinement, like you said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Prisoner, jailed.
And that's EI break. So that guy feels confined, like he's in confinement, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's their emotions.
Mm.
So I'm trying to get a good money shot of maybe the area, or whatever might area be interested. So I'm gonna get this hilly, mountainy type of thing. Um, AOL break map room. AOL break like an underground complex or hideaway. AOL break space based repository.
Interesting. And you had grass green, so you had mountain land
Mm-hmm.
features, hills.
Yeah, irregular topography. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting space-based repository
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
like an underground complex or hideaway. Does this have any advanced tech in it, like computers or anything?
Um,
What was the sense that you were
I
getting
don't.
from this?
Yes, I believe so. But there's a lot going on here. So, like, I'm just gonna say yes. Yeah, yeah.
Because it says it has a map room and it has like
Mm-hmm.
almost like maybe surface level and underground facilities.
See, that's what it feels like to me. And again, you'll see people will see in the whiteboard, but to me, it was almost like the land almost covered just about all of this, except for like the top. You know, um, that's kind of what it reminded me of.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this feels like okay. So I get a special forces unit. Now this is all enclosed fences, like exploiting the masses. Okay, so reinforces tactical unit, heavily guarded territory. Like a fight for planetary ownership. My signal. So I get a sense of quadrants or zones. And this may, I don't know if this relates to the moon at all. It could. Because when I got up to whiteboard and I took the moon apart, I had all these different quadrants on the moon. But military personnel and classified equipment.
You had also cold, blocky, and inter something.
Interested. That's me. Yeah, I'm interested
Interest.
in whatever I'm picking up on. Yeah.
Okay. Looks like a military facility.
That's my
Exploiting
vibe.
the
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exploiting the masses. That's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. A heavily guarded territory. Huh. Oh, looks like a lot like Black Ops something.
Like what?
Like Black Ops.
Oh yeah. 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 Mm-hmm.
Because you said Special Forces unit. So that's
Mm-hmm.
it's like something like a compound facility. Maybe a black
Mm-hmm.
site.
Yeah, I mean, it. Like my AOL would be like in Area 51 somewhere, something
Hmm.
like that.
Or like there's also underground black sites,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
even beyond Area 51. I mean, they're all underground things
Yeah.
that are just like where this stuff is being exploited, I guess, and
Mm-hmm.
experimented.
Mm-hmm.
But that's military personnel, classified equipment, quadrants or zones, it's like typical black sites, like black site
Mm-hmm.
facilities. That's just what it reads like to me when I look at
Mm-hmm.
this. Or
Yeah.
Area 50 could be inner. Like Area 51 is more, well, they do have military stuff there too. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's all
So,
sectioned off. It's all underground. I mean, everything. Um, yeah.
mhm, definitely.
So I'm getting a military alliance, like giving aid to someone. AOL tax. Okay, so hidden agenda, responsibility, media attention, and Congress. So here again, we have a large non-surface structure um, doing something, but above the base surface or something. It's some kind. I get a sense of publications related to this one event, like a mainstay event.
And you had tax information, media, attention, Congress,
Mm-hmm.
hidden something, responsibility.
Hidden agenda,
Hmm.
responsibility.
Hmm.
Again, Sirius B came up again. Um, so, what is the primary focus of this target? A judicial system and the military-industrial complex.
And you said cover up.
Yep, signal cover up.
Well, it looks like a some kind of a UFO with a net and taking
Mm-hmm.
something, taking
To me,
something.
it almost looks like a UFO taking a bigger UFO or smaller UFO away or something, but I don't know. But yeah, it does look like something. It's dealing with something below it there.
Yeah, and you again said quadrants or zone, military alliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hmm, interesting. Well, it definitely judicial system, military industrial complex cover up. Yep. Sirius B comes up again.
Mm-hmm. And when I it's fun, like you get to know yourself, your own little quirks in this, as you know. But like see how I like used all capital letters and military industrial complex. That's important. I mean
Hmm.
that's I tend to do that when it's important.
Oh, it is important. That's spot on. That's very spot on.
So this guy, it's almost like he's witnessing a landing or something. Something in the sky. He's looking up. Weapons exchange program. Signal self-preservation effort. I get privatization and contractual, like making a deal with the devil. I get the impression of a chain of events leading to disclosure, like beyond the shadow of a doubt. First contact species. So to me, is related to something. Maybe first species that humanity's had in contact with, possibly. I'm not sure. But again, preparation. It's like these guys are getting ready for somebody's arrival type of thing. Logistics. Presidential decree. I'm getting the idea of avoiding these creatures at all costs, upholding a bargain, policing the area.
So what was your sense of this? What could this be?
Well, it just reminds me of the old stories of like Truman or somebody making deals with these guys, and they were ended up doing bad things or something. I mean, that's what it reminds me of. Like when I get these impressions and they come together, it kind of reminds me of something like that.
And weapons exchange program keeps popping up a lot here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's weapons platforms too.
Mm-hmm. So this is the first time I got the jail. And then when I got a little closer on whiteboard, I realized these guys were not human. But I think this is probably the first sketch of this, and I got these beings behind bars. Someone is sitting in a jail. Okay, I get the idea of exposing the truth. I get the impression of a true, authentic insider of information. So from my perspective, there may be a human aspect to something that's trying to get the word out type of thing. And this is me kind of giving them that psychically, like, you're a genuine person type of thing. Like this story's true kind of thing. That's what I get out of it, kind of a vibe.
Because you got containment, you got Gary McKinnon. And I mean, Gary McKinnon put out info about there being a space fleet and a Space Force secret space program, US space program with non-terrestrial crafts as a space fleet. So Solar Warden, that's what Gary McKinnon had exposed, and he almost was jailed for what he recovered from NASA, because he had names of officers not from any terrestrial ships, airplanes, or or anything off-world craft. Why would NASA have that? When you hack into a system, why would you find that? Lists of Excel spreadsheets and images of craft. And of course, he wasn't allowed to download any of that. But they wanted him extradited from, I guess, the UK to the US, right?
Yeah. And because I did feel like it had something to do with a whistleblower or something. But yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, he did. I think he had to move or something. But yeah, they were trying to put him in jail for it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you said exposure of content, I think, right?
Yeah. Exposure of content. I've got sealed documents about this exchange program. I've got confinement of military personnel and military contracts. And this is so this, you mentioned Gary, it must be something, like somebody that's trying to get the word out, because this is what, and perhaps they also got jailed, whoever this is, or got bumped off, but this is my signal. Like, that's what happens when you F around and find out type of thing, but yeah, I got a missing person in my AOL.
So it looks like you have non-humans jailed and humans possibly also being effed off and jailed, exposing the truth, because you have written here exposing the truth. I feel someone is sitting in jail over this.
Yeah.
So,
so like almost like if somebody went missing over this, maybe they're in some prison somewhere.
Looks like some serious stuff. Like if you expose something that you shouldn't eat, there's consequences to these things.
Yeah.
Both for humans and extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Because this is human involvement and non-human involvement, like a mixture of things going on. Sealed
I mean,
documents.
and when I get up close and up close with the humanoid aspect, it feels more recent. I mean, it feels like a force that is active today. That's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, and you said exchange program.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And oh, okay. That's
Yeah. So military contracts. I get this idea of an information network. Policy reform, like a trade, vessels for vessels. Um, and and that's a strange way of saying that to me. Is it like body for body, or is it like bodies for ships, or I'm not sure, but there's something going on there. Um,
and you said policy reform like a trade, um,
mm-hmm,
vessels
mm-hmm,
for people, perhaps.
mm.
Um,
People for people, or people for ships, or something. But yeah, it could be people for people, because again, when the visuals I had of these people in these containers, like I had flash sketch images of like literal like naked bodies, like covering up their like just like almost frozen in time. And when I probed into them, it's like, oh, this person's like they're alive. They're experiencing some kind of virtual experience in there, but it's like they're in stasis.
mhm.
That's kind of the vibe it felt like to me.
Yeah, and you said bodies and containers and investment opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's like, is somebody transporting live human cargo in stasis pods and
hmm
containers and trading
mm
them for vessels or other technology or for abilities, perhaps? It's like
Yeah.
humans or non-humans being
There was a
cargoed.
time. There was time I had like sketched them, and it was almost like, are these being jettisoned from something? Um, but it was almost like that. It's almost like these guys are in like stasis unit pods, like something like that. But they feel alive.
I mean, that's theoretically possible. So if it's going on in, because you said military, there's like military contracts and information. What was that information repository, or what was that about?
Information network.
Network. Okay. Well, could this be, could be related to military black ops again?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like these guys are clones of someone or something. These are clones, these humans. That's what it felt like to me. I kept getting Clone Army, and I think that's what these relate to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, who's utilizing them or why? I'm not quite sure, but they feel humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like they're in stasis, but they feel like soldiers or something, or you know, that's kind of the vibe I got out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, or maybe just beings, humans being transported for project work or something.
Mm-hmm. It could be. Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Hmm.
sure. I'm not sure. I just know that they're alive. There's a lot of them. Um, and they're in stasis.
And there's investment opportunities in this endeavor, whatever this
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get to your target
Yeah.
summary.
So this target feels to primarily focus on military contracts, legislative actions, and military personnel. I'm picking up on a staging area. I have a sketch of a military structure that has several
Levels.
levels, encapsulating a very heavy armed armada. Um, or what does it say? Metallic? I don't know why I
Yes.
did that. Okay. Okay, so I am sensing research, vast resources, space weapons, an ancient species, and a sense of primal instincts. I sense someone living in bondage, a strike team. Where are we at? strike team, rescue equipment, and an insurgency, a retaliatory nature, and an infiltration device, a surveillance effort, a pressure spike, a distress call, a classified document, and a response team. Exposure related to this target event, picking up on hidden laws being passed or enacted, picking up on a space fleet, organized, rational decision making. I sense an interest in gravitic technology, dark matter, or both. Picking up on mountain range, a heavily guarded area, an abandoned mission, geological research being done here, a flight pattern, and a drone army, a research facility, devastation and cruelty, the sense of ulterior motives, an evolved species telepathically enhanced, and a secret pact being made, a response and a peace treaty, remnants of a very old species here, a star cluster, foreign affairs, and planetary bombardment. Sirius B came in a few times. There is observation associated with this event, a proprietary engagement and a weapons platform, a special forces unit and heavily guarded territory, classified equipment, and a sense of quadrants or zones. A hidden agenda, responsibility, media attention, and Congress. I sense publications related to this event, military industrial complex, a weapons exchange program, privatization, and contractual. I get the impression of a chain of events leading to disclosure. Preparation and logistics, policing the area. I feel someone is being behind bars over this event, a true, authentic insider of information from behind closed doors. Sealed documents, exposure of content. I get confinement of military personnel.
Yeah, I think from there's several things happening from a broad perspective that kind of gives a picture of reality that we don't see. But this is a
Mm-hmm.
reality in Black Ops, in military industrial complex, and other military things going on, and beyond even that, perhaps. What would be your scope of what you sense from this stuff?
Well, this is the first time. I mean, I've remote viewed a lot of different things, but this is the first time it reminds me of something akin to like a Tony Rodriguez or Randy like it just reminded me of this big space opera situation that we're wrapped up in. And my sense would be is like the scale of some of these things, like if we are building these ships on that scale, it's like equivalent of like bigger than an aircraft carrier, which takes huge amounts of resources, money, um, personnel. If this is going on, it just makes me wonder. It's like, how are we funding all this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this stuff is on such a massive scale, it almost dwarfs everything that we're seeing. Like I said, that mothership, maybe it isn't, but if we were to build something like that, I couldn't imagine the price tag on something like that. It's just so massive.
Well, maybe they figured out how to create alternative energy resources to build this stuff, so it's not as expensive as it looks like. Because you
Well,
had energy
yeah.
production and alternative energy sources in there using different resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, and I don't know what this relates to this or not, but I'm sure they're mining on the moon. I have no doubt. I've seen that on several different sessions, and I didn't realize what it was until they're mining stuff to build craft on the moon, like that material that it seems to be up there. So I think that's what the big interest is, getting back to the moon, probably. But Yeah, it seems like like we're involved in something. It's so huge. It's almost like too big to quantify. It's crazy. Um, but it felt like I was pulling into something huge,
Mm-hmm.
psychically.
Yep.
That's all I could say about it.
Yeah, and it is very connected to the targets. As I was seeing and reading this, I was like, yep, yep, yep. It's like one thing after another.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've got, and I'm sketching like military personnel in space. I mean, it's like they're looking out. It's like they're looking out a window. That to me feels like relatively recent. I mean, this military faction of humanoids. And another thing too, I kept getting super soldiers too. So I'm not sure if the human aspects are augmented or I'm not sure. But yeah, humanoids, definitely insectoids. Yeah,
Perhaps reptilian, maybe, because there's that one dude with the snout.
yeah. I mean, um there was a few things that kind of came in. I felt like those were the ones that I was dealing with the most, but I could just tell they're not human. I mean, like I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't have to. I don't like to go up to some of these because they know you're there. If you get too close, they can kind of pick up on you. So I don't like to go up to ETs too much and like put my psychic hands on them
Yeah.
But I could tell from a distance, like okay, this guy's not human. There was a variety of insectoid-like species there also.
Yeah,
Uh,
and what I always say in remote viewing, don't touch anything when you're remote viewing. Don't touch the stuff that you're seeing. Don't put
yeah,
your hands on it.
yeah. Because like even when I did Hellier, it was like a gray. It was the closest I could get to it, but of a similar makeup. As to where these seemed less like that. These seemed, at least the ones that I was dealing with, seemed a little bit more insectoid, but somewhat passive. Seemed kind of passive to me.
Mm-hmm. It almost looked ant-like, insectoid or ant-like to me in the images without the antennas.
Yeah, yeah. But they had a robotic, like a biomechanical attitude kind of thing. Is what I got. But pacifist is what it came in. Um, but they did seem scared though when that soldier. Well, you'll see it in the whiteboard.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
is
but
this? Oh,
tell,
is this more session? I haven't even. Did I not
yeah,
do this
but
one?
but you were saying they were scared when the soldier came up or
Yeah. Oh yeah.
something?
He was freaking out. He was freaking out. Like every time I went to do that sketch, it was like he was cornered. And yeah, he was not having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it was
So
almost like they were getting kicked out of somewhere. Like this, were it almost felt like.
mm-hmm. And this was the extra stuff I asked you to have a look at.
Oh yeah, okay. Hmm.
So it's paper session target 2, session 2 results for B0224-S0424. And this was just having a closer look at what kept repeating for Sirius B.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, open, dusty. I got like a unique environment or something. Um, Sulfuric smells, acidic taste, sandy, gravelly, hilly, irregular land formation type of thing.
And you got brown, flashy, sulfuric smells.
Yeah, yeah. And then I AOL the dampening field. I'm not sure what that's about, but again, I feel like I'm jumping into this kind of quick because I already made contact with it. It's weird with sessions. It's almost like you bookmark it, even though you end it. I quickly, it's almost like you jump right back into where you were. So maybe I should have just went right to where I don't know, but anyway. So then I get different stuff here. So I get the sense of a dampening field here, and I get a guy. I don't know if this guy's ET or not, but it's almost like he's looking at something in the distance or something. And then I've got this looks like almost like a non-surface structure. he may not be human. He looks a little weird.
Yeah, and you had sounds of voices, red, green, metallic, dark,
Hmm.
banging sounds, elliptical, wide, blue, shadowy, tall, rounded, floaty, brown, salty, cool.
And
And
I get
again,
go ahead.
uh, you said I feel a sense of dampening here.
Yeah, dampening here. Um, Fleshy texture. So there's life here. I can tell there's life.
Hmm. Almost looks like he's studying something and has something on his head.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's weird. Like to me, it's almost like he's like binoculars or something. I don't know, visualizing something. I don't know what he's doing,
Hmm.
but I don't think he's human. It doesn't seem like there's. But there was a point. I think this. Well, again, this comes back to. It's almost like two guys, two. Like these guys are looking at you, and maybe these guys are looking back, type of thing, at a distance. I'm not sure.
Looks like a craft or something.
Yeah, yeah, I got that. That's what I got out of it.
We have Sirius B.
Yeah, and I get an open invitation. Now, this was strange. This is strange. So, I'm just going to tell you what this felt like to me.
Hmm.
So, to me, it's almost like somebody of authority is shaking the hand of a non human in some kind of a like a deal or something.
It looks like a smaller creature on some kind of a table or a stand.
I know. To me, it almost looks like a baby reptile or something. I have no idea what it is, but it wasn't. It didn't feel human, you know. So I don't know what that is going on there, but it was a strange feeling. Um, it's like, what is he? Is he shaking this thing's hand or something? But it could just be representative of a partnership or something or an agreement.
Hmm. It's interesting.
Now this, so again, I get AOL break highlighted area. This to me is almost like I'm. It's almost like I'm looking at a structure and it's almost like I want to label these two areas or something. You know what I mean? It was almost like, I don't know if you're looking at a screen or a map or something, but it's almost like, imagine if there's a word here next to this arrow and then another label here. It's like I'm trying to indicate something. Um, Maybe task or related. I'm not sure. Like trying to identify something on a map.
'Cause it looks like there's like three beings hanging
Yep.
out in
Mm-hmm.
that area on the
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. It looks like they're kind of hanging out up there on the right. Yeah.
Some kind of a vehicle or something and looking at something and studying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It looks like a viewing screen and some kind of a almost.
That's what I would take it as. It's almost like if you're looking at a screen and it's like showing you something, indicating something. Where like if I was really standing there, there'd be words attached to those arrows.
Mhm. And you said you had beeping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a very spacey vibe. You know, like a beep beep or something. You know, like a probe or a something you'd hear at a launch. But like signaling the whole fleet. But again, yeah, beeping. But again, so you got like a planetary body, what feels like an artificial satellite type of thing, and then like another planetary body or moon or just a big structure. I don't know. But something, and then like all these things. To me, it's like an exodus. To me, it's like all these things leaving.
Hmm.
Yeah. So here's where we get this. This is just one of the few that I did, but it's like this guy's got a weapon on him or something, and I don't know if they're chasing this guy or what, but he's freaked out by it. He feels threatened, I should say.
Yeah. Well, it looks non-human. The creature holding the weapon looks like non-human to me.
Mm.
Like maybe has a snout or something and huge
Oh,
eyes.
could be. Yeah.
I just see a reptile.
Yeah, it could be. I know that this guy is definitely felt insectoid to me. Yeah.
Yeah, the one on the left looks insectoid. The one on the right just feels like Godzilla. Like I'm seeing Godzilla,
Mm-hmm.
but his tail is just reminds me of the movie Godzilla, but like that, but much more smaller scale, holding a weapon. Just
Right.
imagine if
Yeah.
Godzilla was holding a weapon on you and going, "I'm here."
Yeah, but I mean, and then I had like this, I have these little quick visuals of, and this thing's like screaming in its head, like it's with its mandibles out or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if that was to indicate that this is on craft. I'm not sure.
Hmm. It's just these two individuals or entities, they don't feel human to me. Like I don't get any
Mm-hmm.
human perception from them as consciousness. I get reptilian and I get insectoid and something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's my perceptions because I'm like when I
Yeah,
tap, because you can psychically and energetically tap anything in a remote union, you kind of like, what is this,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Give me the raw. Yeah,
I'm just getting not human, both not human.
yeah.
And if this is like Sirius B, it could have many different beings out there,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
whatever's happening there. Yeah, that definitely looks like either a vent
Bottom
or
of a ship or something. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what it reminded me. I felt like I put that in to maybe indicate to myself that maybe it was like bottom layer of the ship or something, or letting me know that it's something's underneath it. But that's what
Hmm.
it reminds me of. It's almost like this is a like bottom row of the craft or something.
Yeah.
Yep, there's all the guys, all the ETs locked up. Um, oh, I put Sirius B Detention Center. I almost wanted to like put a label, slap a label right in the middle of that, saying Sirius B Detention Center, as if to indicate that like those are these folks or something. Um, like that's them being um, put in jail or whatever.
Yeah. They don't look human to me. Some are shorter.
No, yeah, yeah. I get like a variety of insectoids or gray type something. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I feel about them.
Some are shorter, some are taller, and they're like behind
Mm-hmm.
bars and they're like, I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
here. I don't deserve to be here. Like, why am
Yeah,
I
I mean, some
here?
of them. Yeah, I mean, some of them felt really, like maybe a mantis type, and then maybe a something else. But when I go in there, like to kind of just go in their mind, they're just totally chilled. They're just like biding their time or whatever. Very mindful. You know. Yeah. Again, that's the not again. Those are the bot. This is the sketch I was talking about. It's almost like, are these dropping these guys off or what? Um, it's almost like they're getting slid out or something. Um,
Yeah, it looks like stasis pods or stasis
yeah.
chambers
Mm-hmm.
of some
Yeah.
sort where they're like kept in cryostasis if they have to be dropped off or removed or transferred. Because you said
Mm-hmm.
mass exodus off a huge, either a planetary body or a huge ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there was a prison system on a planet or a ship and these guys needed to be removed and dropped off, this would be a way to do it, perhaps,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to transfer them somewhere or to take them somewhere else. I mean, ETs are capable of that. They have that tech.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So this, I don't know if this is relating to like multiple planets around a star or something, or multiple objects around a planet or what. But signal divide and conquer. Okay, so I get a planetary substructure and a planetary existential threat.
You also got blue, windy, orange, gray, I think. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like
Mm-hmm.
sensing. Also elliptical orbit around the sun.
Yeah.
So,
But that's AOL though. So it could be the sun, or it could be the Earth, or something like that. I get these three objects or bodies orbiting. That's kind of the vibe.
or it could be Sirius B. Like,
Oh, yeah, could be.
it's interesting. I mean, who knows where those beings were being taken to? Like, taken out of Sirius B, transported maybe here or somewhere else. So it's like that mass exodus off a planetary body. Maybe that's what this is. Of these beings and others. I mean, it's hard to.
Well, you know what? I'm looking at these X's though, like these crosshairs, and I've got this signal divide and conquer. So I don't know if they're like going to these planets or something with an objective type of vibe. But yeah, that's kind of the feeling from it. Yeah, so again, I'm trying to prompt up Sirius B to see what's going on. Again, feeling of conquest. Now I have AOL Vedas, but that could be Zetas or something. I'm not sure. You can't. My hearing, it's weird. Your clairaudience is kind of like your hearing in real life. It's like sometimes you can't just quite make it out, but something like that. But a large scale planetary evacuation. I get corrupt bargaining. AOL Eye of Horus, like performing an ancient sigil. Excuse me. That's my AOL. But I get ancestors and a frequent exchange of prisoners.
It's like almost looks like on top like a bug with antennas and 3 legs or something crawling towards this structure.
Yeah, it does.
It's very interesting, and again, it's the diamond triangular shape,
like that trapezoidal.
Yeah,
yeah, it's very weird angled structures.
Yeah, and it looks like it has a platform going down and perhaps stilts or something.
Yeah, a lot of the time, to me, like again, going back to those ETs behind caves, it's almost like this could be a smaller part of the whole picture, but it's almost like there's like a present exchange that happens sometimes too. Like, okay, you get your guys back, we get some of our guys back, just like we would do down here.
Oh yeah, could be. And then you're going into another aspect of the target, I guess, or probing closer.
Yeah, I took a break, came back in again. Popping sounds, electrical, gray, streaky, narrow, uneven.
Yeah, white, blue, smoky structure. Okay. Narrow green.
I feel a sense of relocation here. So again, you got, okay, so this is this is really weird and interesting. Okay, so you got these bodies, right, in these pods, and it's almost like they're being moved or relocated. And that guy, I think, is humanoid-ish or something, but that thing next to it is definitely not. That thing is almost like a spider or something. I don't even know if it's mechanical, but it wasn't human. So yeah, it's almost like they're unloading or something.
Again, these pods with bodies inside, and some of them are some of these other guys are not in the pods, and maybe just like unloading them, transferring them somewhere else.
That's what I get from it, because I mean, with the ramp and the structure and everything, that's kind of what I get out of it. It's like they're being moved around. I mean, to me, it's almost like whether it's our humanoid ancestors we're trying to get back or something that came from an old civil. I don't know, but it's almost like we're trying to obtain these, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I was trying to get to this to me. So I got this humanoid. It's like he's maybe talking to somebody, like, but it's like he's maybe got a weapon in his hand and he's going through somewhere. And then you got this non-human kind of with his back up against the wall situation.
Mm-hmm. Because it looks like some kind of a room
Mm-hmm.
and a hand
He could,
reaching out.
yeah, yeah. He could be back in a corner. He could be in his jail cell, but I felt like this is a perspective of a non-human looking at the humanoid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more of these guys. Very stick bug like. Um, to me, like they're underground or something. This all feels rocky to me.
Mm-hmm. It looks like one of them has something holding in their hands, like a weapon or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that's what it reminds me of me. It's almost like this guy's getting his cocking a gun or something type of thing. It almost reminds me of that. Because to me, it's almost like they're getting ready to be invaded or something. Um, and these forces kind of catch up with these guys or something, trap them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a subspecies encampment, a detention center, um, an invasive species, a hybrid class soldiers, stealth technology. I have scaly. I get the sense these guys are violating our time space. Um, I get a barren species, what I AOL, which to me it almost ties in with the whole this species that's not able to procreate or whatnot. Um, but this guy's holding something. I don't know if that it just reminds me of like it reminds me of like a contract or something. When I see him holding that, that's what it says to me when I see that image.
And it says cosmonauts.
Cosmonauts and Sputnik is in my AOL.
So what does this seem like to you?
Um, this image, what it says to me, what it feels to me is it's like it's kind of like we could do what we want. We've taken, you've made an agreement type of thing, um, and that's it. But this may all be a response to this. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. This could be a situation where, like, all right, we've had enough with these guys. But there's times where I had things about behaviors, like somebody's getting out of line type of thing, and things needed to be kind of straightened out. Um, and that to me feels like a big part of what's going on. It's as if the humanoid force is like getting these guys off planet or getting them away or making some exchange with them. But that's to me, he's got like a contract or an artifact in his hands that signifies that, like, hey, I could do this because this. That's kind of what that feels like.
Mm-hmm. So that has to do with Sirius B and possibly stuff here happening on Earth, interrelated somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's Sputnik, there's cosmonauts, there's obviously humans, non-humans. There's like so much terrestrial, non-terrestrial stuff going on in these scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I had prisoners of war, so it's like to me, it could be a situation where maybe these guys left Sirius B because that planet was destroyed or going to be destroyed, and they came down to Earth, and now we're trying to get them off Earth. I don't know, but there's a planet that has problems for sure. That feels like it's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I get piloted craft pods, refugees, uh, like a drop zone. So okay. So what is most noteworthy about Sirius B? I get distant, extreme conditions. I get the sense of the asteroid belt, interplanetary defense measures, and that guy, seems like a typical soldier of like, a humanoid space division of some kind. That's kind of what that reminds me of. And I get a planetary ordinance. Um, yeah,
And you got also bribery.
bribery. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. So like things, pods being dropped, refugees, piloted craft, military operations of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's extraterrestrials that are humanoid looking, non-human, of course, but humanoid looking, or it could be black ops involved in something in serious,
Mm-hmm.
potentially Sirius B, like human black ops,
Yeah. I don't
space
recognize the
fleets.
uniform though. It's almost
Yeah.
like he has a sash and
Yeah,
thing and like a regular cap.
that looks like a mixture of human and non-human stuff. Humanoid, but interesting, very asteroid belt because we have the Kuiper belt,
Mm.
and
And
then
humanoid is not human. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Humanoid, by compare, like they look human, ish.
yes,
That's the best I could say.
yeah, definitely. They're not human from Earth, but they're humanoid from somewhere else,
Right.
obviously. Assuming Sirius B or because that kept popping in so many times. It's like, let's
Mm.
have a closer look at that, please.
Yeah. So I get a refugee camp. So I'm like, show me the best spot position, and I get a prisoner exchange. So I get like all these uh insectoids like coming at me or whatever, maybe that they're, and then so this was interesting. I don't know if I don't know if this thing had a baby in its hand or what, but uh I heard these words in my head when I was sketching this: is no bodily harm will come to you. um and I don't know who that was directed towards, but that's how it came in, so I had to write it down.
Yeah, and it
But
looks
again,
like
on the right it looks like a UFO,
like a
and then you
pyramid
have these,
thing.
yeah, and you have this guy peeking out like from behind a hill or something.
Yeah,
And these insectoids kind of coming my way.
and another insectoid or another creature holding something. And
Yeah.
you got the encampment was cold, like the environment was cold,
Hmm.
very
Yeah.
cold place perhaps, where this
Hmm.
was.
Yeah.
Refugee camp. So a lot of weird stuff going on in Sirius B.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally, it reminded me like, it reminds me a lot of like, it reminded me a lot of like Tony Rodriguez's story, like with these insectoid
Mhm.
like creatures. It reminded me of something similar to that. Um, so yeah.
Well, obviously, like no bodily harm will come to you. So these creatures, I don't pick up any sense of hostility from them.
Yeah, and neither did I. So that, and again, that was the thing where it was confusing to me. Is like, because these guys seem more human looking. I would assume they would kind of, I guess that's species ish, but like a racist of species. But I would assume they'd be like the good guys. It didn't really feel like that. These guys almost felt like oppressed or something.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't like the displaced set of species and not just one set, but several different types that are
mhm.
insectoid that are in this encampment. I don't know. That's just the sense of what I'm getting. Not
Yeah,
one
yeah,
species, but several different types.
yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah,
Hmm.
and this guy, it felt like I was picking up on almost someone like super specific here. and maybe it has nothing to do with it, but if there was a human attached, that's why I had asked, like, is there a primary male attached to this? Because like if there was, I felt like maybe it was him. But I have a decorated soldier, open exchange, dialogue, um, receiving the highest. I can't see it.
Honor or something.
Yeah, or something like yeah. Receiving the highest honor, I think.
And you also have
But human
human,
concerns.
yeah, human
Yeah.
concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And it looks like he's holding some kind of a device and his hand is on it on the table. Maybe a
Mm-hmm.
pen in his hand, like a digital pen or something. And he's kind of like looking at something, mapping something.
Yeah, like what'll happen is like I'll get a quick visual, or I'll start kinesthetically going, and then my analytical side will start kicking in. But to me, it was almost like maybe it's something like that. He's holding something small, or maybe he's accessing an entrance with his hand or something. But yeah, something like that.
Perhaps human military involved
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah, I mean, he like that little emblem to me, I think is like representing something like a flag, telling me that he's military.
yeah, so perhaps human military from whichever country is aware of what's going on on Earth, for what's going on from Earth's perspective. They are aware of what's going on in Sirius B. The secret
Mm-hmm.
military is aware. Human
Yeah, yeah.
military is aware of what's happening in Sirius B, and this guy is in on that knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And if I were a betting man, I'd say that he's probably if he is if he's human, he's probably from the States. Like that's just my vibe from the way I drew the flag. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, it's definitely the belt, the pants, and the tight-fitting uniform that's standard for U.S. Space Force and Space Command and other militaries. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the typical space uniform you would wear.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
no nonsense. This is just like my uniform and my flag where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably aspects of human military, US military are aware of the space stuff happening in Sirius B
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
related to it.
Reapproach this target. I first pick up on a non-human and a structure. Picking up on a um, invitation or relationship. Could you enhance that for me?
Yeah. A relationship of some kind,
Oh, some
something.
kind, yeah. I have humans and non-humans here. On page 7, I get the sense of all these non-humans being detained. I get the sense of a prisoner exchange. I felt these beings in cages relate to a cages to a Sirius B population, elliptical orbit, and an existential threat. I get a large-scale planetary evacuation, conquest, corrupt bargaining, and ancestors. Relocation happening here. A subspecies encampment, a detention center, hybrid class soldiers, a barren species, refugees, piloted craft and pods, uniformed soldiers, an asteroid belt, extreme conditions, interplanetary defense measures, and a planetary ordinance. I get a refugee camp and a decorated soldier and open exchange and dialogue. Now, the the planetary ordinance, I just want to just preface this, like to me, that means like, okay, this is how we deal with you know these things on this planet, or this planet with these things, however you do it. Like this is the law of how this is operated on a planetary scale. So it's almost like a big law that's like in that exists somewhere, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
aware of, but yeah.
Definitely. And then we sort of, as you and I, as you were finishing these targets in the paper sessions, you were kind of sending me a little feedback of your own, and I was kind of making notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I just called this remote viewing target analysis because you were doing this from June 24th until July 5th, 2024, correction. And I guess I was taking it by the date. Would you like me to read that to you?
Sure, sure.
So June 24th, after the first target to when you looked at the first target paper session, 2024, you said, I have something what looks like it is working or looking at a mothership that is faulty something with the weapon system. It is causing some kind of gravity magnetic anomaly above the surface. So I guess you were like, after doing the paper sessions, you were kind of giving me summaries of like what the important stuff was. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
sort of capturing that because I thought it was important as well to have that noted. On June 28th, 2024, the remote viewer, and I kind of paraphrased this a little bit, the remote viewer had some kind of interest in like the core of maybe planet Earth whole thing. It's almost like an escape or something, maybe sketching the satellite dish or a smaller UFO. A shadow government came up.
Mm.
So like you were giving me little glimpses of what you were doing, core of the planet, maybe Earth, like an escape or something happening, and you were sketching the satellite, the UFO or planetary body or the moon. That came up
Mhm.
a few times, and you said shadow government came up, like military industrial complex. So that could be interrelated. June 29th, 2024. A lot of action on the moon. Felt like there was an insect in cuffs, has a feeling of like a crash recovery or escaping the planet type of feel. Felt like this had some relation to something at the end of the Cold War, and I had like a soldier holding a gun on an ET. But I had all these clones, these bodies in containers. It's very strange, like maybe like some kind of recovery. Definitely defensive posture from one side, felt like something was seen from space orbiting satellite, a lot going on. And then on July 5th, 2024, we were kind of like, I asked you, can you, because when I was reading the paper session notes and Sirius B kept repeating itself in Target 2, so I'm like, can we have a closer look? Just Sirius B. And so you went and did another paper session for that. And then you
Mhm.
said the most interesting takeaway for me in all of this is it's like a gigantic mothership came down into the land and disguised itself as like a mountain or a pyramid or both or something. This thing is huge, but it had the ability to integrate the land features as like a camouflage. And we talked about that as being, wow, that's something important. This thing
Mhm.
has camouflage abilities, cloaking abilities. And then I said to you, what happened in Sirius B is connected to what is happening here on Earth. That was kind of like my supposition.
Mhm.
And then you said, feels right, it's strange. Preliminary humanoid and insect from my perspective is like the beings, I guess, in Sirius B and the
Mhm.
prison stuff and the military stuff. And then I said remote viewer David Powell. So I sort of grabbed these little summation points because I thought they were interesting from what some of your observations were after doing the paper sessions.
Mhm. Yeah, like every time I go in, like every time, even if I've already hit it, but every time I take a separate, it's kind of like you're kind of going in at this angle, that angle. And every time there should be some kind of idea, like some main concept. And that's basically what you have here on every
Mhm.
time I walked in and got those things.
Yeah, and I kind of like because I'm supposed to collate the reporting end of the spectrum. So I'm like paper sessions, observations, whiteboard, and disseminating the whiteboard results and anything that comes up from that. Like it's happening in stages. So
Mhm.
we're this was the paper stage and the work that you did in the paper aspect, and then you took all of that to the whiteboard, and that will be like 50 pages of its own or maybe more because it's very huge volume of important information that's coming from the whiteboard in addition to this. So it starts with paper sessions, then goes to whiteboard, then we go over the whiteboard, and then I give you the feedback on the target parameters of what I was tasking and what you were looking at. So that's kind of like the work parameters of how these phases are done and what we're going over here. So I'm just gonna stop sharing the document and would you like to share anything else that so far what you think or your
I mean,
impressions?
it's I think it's an interesting target. Um, a lot of there's a lot of meat here. I mean, this is one of these things where I could just, I told you, like, before, like the last time I went through, I'm like, I am spent on this target. I've just gone back so many times, but there's still like every time I went back, I could get a little more. I get a little bit more. I get a little more. So, from my perspective, it's an interesting target to view. I'd like targets with a lot to unbox, which this does have that. And it feels like it's a genuine happening, whatever it is. That's about all I could say from it.
Yeah, and from a tasker's perspective, I could say there's more than one thing going on in these targets because it's more than one target because you did two targets, but there's many different things going on and we're kind of like putting the puzzle pieces of what that action is that's happening
Mm-hmm.
in real life situational matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
because you've done all the remote viewing, you've done the paper sessions and you've done the whiteboard. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
revealing what's in the targets to you, but I'm sort of letting you know like that this is a complex
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's happening in these targets, which I'm allowed to say now because we've completed all the
Mm-hmm.
phases of the remote viewing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and I still have no idea. I mean, what'll happen is you'll when I finally get the feedback, I'll be like, "Oh, that makes sense," or whatever. That's probably what's going to happen. But yeah, yeah. Because I really don't know. I mean, my subconscious is really good at keeping me kind of ignorant to whatever it is. I don't. It's so weird. Like you really don't know, but you're giving out all this stuff. It's the one missing component is that feedback. But yeah,
and which I
so
cannot
far, yeah.
give you because
Yeah,
these
that's fine. Yeah, we'll get there.
yeah, these targets are double blind per proper protocols of SRV and
Mm-hmm.
RV procedures. Like this is done old school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pa- Paper sessions, whiteboard, and then collate, document, and go over everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I want to give you my raw data too as we go through it, like my feelings. Because I think
Yes.
that's as an analyst too. When I look at other people, to me that's almost the most important thing. Like, tell me what you were feeling when you were sketching this. To me,
Mhm.
that's a big thing. So yeah. It's an interesting target. I'm looking forward to moving on and see what happens here.
Mm-hmm. And I think this will take me a few more weeks because the images, it's like every whiteboard session has like 10 to 12 images or 13. So it's like I'm screenshotting every image and then I'm kind of like just enhancing it a little bit because it's like I'm watching the video of your whiteboard and I have to take a screenshot and then I have to make sure it's visible, and then I have to do all the notes of what you were verbally saying and writing down on the whiteboard to make into a cohesive document that you and I can go over like this too. But it's a
Mm-hmm.
whiteboard, not a paper, but it'll be on
Sure.
paper. It's I'm transferring all of that. And
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
part of what I have to do as a tasker. Otherwise, we would be like sitting there watching your video for
Right.
repetition
Right.
of your video because you send me the whiteboard video for every aspect of the target, and then I do the extractions of the info and the images, and then I have to collate that in document form so we can disseminate that here and then do the feedback of revealing what the tasking for the targets were as like a whole finished
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
section, and that's phase two. This is phase one of the paper sessions. It's kind of like how these protocols go for the SRV. It's typical,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm gonna like because it's 5 whiteboard sessions, so it's like a lot of info. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
under estimated my ability for how long that would take. It's gonna take a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I never know. Like when I go into whiteboard, I never know. Like you know how it is. You lose track of time. Like
Mhm.
10 minutes turns into an hour, and depending on what's there, how if there, I feel like there's something still to grab, I may be in there an hour, I may be in there 30 minutes. I don't know.
Well, most of the whiteboard video sessions are like an hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes each. So it's like, and it has anywhere from 9 images with what you're verbally saying, describing everything and writing it on the whiteboard. Anywhere from 9 to 13, 14 images per whiteboard session.
Oh
So it's like,
wow.
yeah, so it's like, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this is gonna
Hmm.
take a bit longer, but I want to take the next week or so to just compile everything so we can
Sure.
just fill in even more info for this.
For an analyst, from an analyst perspective, how was the whiteboard? Did it add quite a bit more for you?
Oh, yes. Oh, definitely, for
Okay,
sure.
good,
I'm like,
good.
this is exciting. That's why I'm like spending 20 minutes per image, extracting every image from the whiteboard session and it's like extracting that. Under that, I'm going to be writing what you said and wrote.
Okay. Yeah.
Listening, going back, listening to every whiteboard session and like putting that into that documentation style format.
Yeah. Well, sounds good, Ileana.
Well, thank you. This is like so interesting for me. And
Yeah,
this is
thanks
my,
for reaching out.
and thank you. And this is my first tasking project for that SRV course. So it's like, if you do it right, you get the right info, basically, right?
Hmm.
How
Yeah.
you construct the target IDs is what you're looking at. And again, I'm not supposed to tell you anything. It's double blind
Hmm.
protocol, which this is. And we're following all the phase steps, and phase two will
Hmm.
be the whiteboards. A
Yeah,
couple,
the tasking is as critical as the viewing, at least. I mean, it can make or break the session, definitely. So,
yeah, definitely. Like what I learned from tasking is I went through three drafts of doing the tasking before I finalized the tasking in the final document. Because I did three drafts on it because it's complex. It's more than one
mhm.
thing. As you've pulled
Yeah.
from these targets, it's not just one thing you're doing. It's multiple parts. So the way I had to
Yeah.
word it, make sure everything is included into that tasking to get all these elements, I would say. So to get all these elements in, so it wasn't like it wasn't a simplistic tasking, it's complex.
Hmm.
And so I was like,
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's definitely a lot going on there. And that's great because at least, and sometimes when there's a lot going on, I can't, it gets confusing, but I'm just taking it one image at a time. I mean, deciphering it one image at a time, and
mhm.
you know,
Well, I mean, everything that I've seen makes sense to me. Like from the tasker's perspective, I'm understanding what I'm looking at.
yeah.
So and if I wanted more info, I was just kind of like ask you, can you take more of this to the whiteboard, please?
Hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
can't cue you, I can't tell you what to look at. Like, I can't,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I'm not biasing you or front loading you with anything, but I'm like, okay, you just finished this part. Um, please go to the whiteboard more with from this target. Go more
Hmm.
to the whiteboard, and you're like, okay. And you would go to the whiteboard, and your subconsciousness would dial in what the more stuff that needed to be looked at.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could give you like subtle cues
Hmm.
about like, okay, Sirius B, please follow up. That's all I could, as a cue,
Hmm.
that's all I'm allowed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully, if everything works right, the
Hmm.
subconscious will dial right into whatever it is.
Yeah,
That should be enough. Hopefully, you know what I mean. Where
yeah,
it's like, okay, she's looking for something.
yeah.
Just go in there and get what she's looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you can queue it up a little bit because in Target 2, like for that example, Sirius B kept popping up several times. So I'm like, okay, Q Sirius B. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'll look more into that on the whiteboard. And that's the Q. As a tasker, I can't be very detailed in what I'm asking for as Qs, because that's
Mhm.
kind of giving you too much info, right?
Yeah,
So it's
which
like,
could be, in even if, look, if it's a task, a sub queue of Sirius B, it's not really telling me anything. I mean, like, it's just giving me a that's what we're because it could be anything. I mean, it could be how it rotates around the sun or what's going. I don't know what you're looking for about that or why that keeps popping up. I'm just going into it as a drive of direction.
yeah, and it's like, what is that cluster? What are those UFOs? Like, those are the simplest things I could ask as a queue if I want more
Mm-hmm.
info on that. I can't queue
Mm-hmm.
you up too much with super detail,
Right.
because I'm
Right.
not leading you on with bias. So it's like I have to be very careful in the queuing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I tried my best to queue it up in forms that, okay, you're doing a follow-up, but I'm not telling you
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
anything much of anything, if at all.
Yeah.
Just to explain what these follow-ups are for and why we're
Sure.
going from paper session to whiteboard and back and forth like this. Just
Mm.
to get more information, because both paper sessions and whiteboard can give you a more better picture of what's going on as a reality.
Yeah, when you start poking around in anything with an unknown component and you see something interesting, it's common in operations. Where, okay, that's interesting. Go into that, whatever that is. Let's see what that's about. Because a lot of times there's an unknown element, and that's why you're here. And you're trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
So yeah, but yeah, it was great talking to you. Do you need anything else before I get out of here?
No, well, thank you so much, and we'll continue in a few weeks with the whiteboard session
Yep,
stuff.
sounds great. I'll see you then. Keep
Awesome.
in touch. I'll talk
I
to you.
will. Bye.
Bye.